Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Where you going?
I have no idea. I'm not sure. I think Lauderdale.
Okay.
And take the 5C bus over, maybe.
Why don't you go to Jacksonville? Watch AEW Rampage.
Nah, it's overrated.
I don't know. Made me laugh last night.
Yeah, I was reading.
Well, you got a lot to talk about, don't you?
Nope.
Yeah, you do. 540 some pages worth.
Nope.
Oh, you're not buying any comics?
Nope. Well, I only pare it down to what I'm interested in. I actually have a comment about that when we get to it.
Sorry, can't do a previous episode. Not buying any comics.
Nope. You finally did it to me.
Gotta go Hawaii.
To buy.
Gotta go Hawaii. They don't have any comics there, so I'm done.
Actually, they do. They got allegedly four comic shops. I know I visited 3 of them, so there was one that was it was more of a game comic store, and I didn't visit that one. But
okay. Well, shall we start this thing?
You mean it hasn't started yet?
Well, I haven't introduced us.
Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Everybody know who it is. They download us. We don't have to introduce ourselves.
Yes,
it's not like they're gonna get on this podcast and go, "Oh my God, it's Rat Bastard and Kray." I thought it would be lickety lick and share.
Look, when you put in your MASH DVD, it still says MASH, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. I just skip the intro and go right to the meat of the episode.
No, I mean,
unless I want to catch who directed it or something.
When you put the DVD in and get the menu.
I'm usually not that hungry. I'll have eaten before I start the DVD.
Hello and welcome. Yeah.
Look at that. I got him even before the opening.
Actually, I started doing the PW Insider open and stopped myself.
Why not?
Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics
PWInsider.com.
It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard.
And he's 3 of those 2.
By the way, it is Lord Reverend Uncle Rat Bastard Esquire, if we want to get. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about. Are you talking about the Joe that is right now here on the 10th of March recording this here podcast, who is giddier beyond belief, my belly button puckering in anticipation of getting on that jet plane, leaving on a jet plane? Well, I don't really look forward to that part, but going to Hawaii? Or are you talking about the Joe who is, as you are downloading this, sitting somewhere in Hawaii, enjoying a Mai Tai and wondering why I'm ever coming home? Or are you talking about the Joe that will be home on the 24th, so we can, you only have one fill-in episode to worry about?
Actually, I was wondering, since you're going to be on that plane to Hawaii, that's a long flight. Not as long as a flight to Australia.
Nope, direct flight.
But still, how many hours?
I think it's 8, maybe 9.
So
depending on, between taxi and boarding and all that shit, and 2 hours before and 3 hours because how.
So what are your plans on the flight?
Barring that, I've been trying to figure out how much their Wi-Fi is. And I might just, plug in the Wi-Fi, enable my phone, and then just listen to music. They will have on-flight entertainment. Modern jets, they got the little thing in front of you. So I will be able to probably watch a movie or something. And, I did talk about watching Shazam I was on a Southwest flight, so that was kind of cool. Barring that, I got into a habit back in my iPod days, the old MP3s for you dinosaurs like us, where I would just put in music and just listen. I don't like reading. I don't like putzing away on a laptop or anything like that. Just want to sit and read or listen to music. So, and nowadays, half the music I listen to, I just stream on the interwebs on YouTube. But the problem is, I don't make MP3s out of any of those. And my iPad is long since given, or a little tiny iPod, long since given up the ghost. And I don't even know if I have an MP3 player. I don't even know if they make them anymore. I might have to go online and look for one. But generally, that's it. Just kind of sit back, and I'll bring my headphones so I won't have to buy a pair.
Now, the last time I flew, I had my laptop, and I had a DVD or two in the laptop case. But it was before they had digital comics. Now, if I were to fly, I would just bring my tablet and be reading a half ton of digital comics that I'd loaded into it. And even with that, I could listen to music that's, or, even download like 3 or 4 podcasts that are about music, like Little Steven's Underground Garage and things like that. Spotify, you can download your Spotify lists. I don't know if I could ever sleep on a plane because I have that fear of heights. Now, once we are, at our cruising altitude, it's not as bad because you can't see the ground for the most part. And when you do, for me at least, the ground is sort of abstract. It's not like when I'm on like the 4th or 5th floor of a building and I look down and I go, oh yeah, if I were to fall, I would die. And the ground makes sense. But when you're, 10,000 feet in the air and you look down and it doesn't register in your brain the same way, I have found. It's more, oh, that's really interesting how that looks. It's a patchwork of things rather than, oh, I can see the concrete. That would kill me.
So the question is, though, how many minutes taking off and landing on a flight should you stay awake in order to survive in case something happens?
I honestly don't know because I would never sleep on a plane unless they drugged me.
The only reason I say I had once when I was flying somewhere and I actually fell asleep in between the de-icing and takeoff because it was like a 20-30 minute process and I didn't realize I'd fallen asleep. But the survival experts say 10 minutes because generally if the plane goes down, you won't be high enough where it's instant death. You actually would have a chance to survive, although if you're asleep, you probably won't make it because you'll not know what's going on. Same thing with landing.
I don't know. I think crashing would wake you up.
No, not really. Depends on how hard you hit. You'd be surprised how many people are still in their seats and they just die from blunt trauma injury, never regaining consciousness. So 10 minutes. Then
That's
you
a pleasant
then
thought.
you can do whatever. Then you can do whatever. Well, I spend a lot of time watching crash videos, so.
Yay. But you're not going to be taking your previews, are you?
I didn't get my previews yet.
I thought we were going to do previews.
Well, I went out and bought one, but I didn't get my previews. I still haven't got my box day yet.
Oh, okay. But you won't be taking your previews on the flight because we're going to be going through it here now.
Yeah, it's not like we did it 2 weeks ago. And besides, you'll have time enough to decide what we recommend that you might have missed. Now, of course, the previews we're using is previews number 402, dated March 22nd for May. So there's still free comic book day stuff in there. So you got plenty of time to call up your guy and say, hey, I got to get this. Why? Oh, it's leading to Dark Crisis. I need it.
Well, not only that, the free comic book day stuff ties into Spider-Man. See, we get a best of Archie. We get what are the other big ones that look very cool? Oh, the Doctor Who special is always cool. You get a reprint of the first issue of Red Sonja from Marvel being reprinted by Dynamic Forces. Anything else looks super, super cool.
Doesn't matter. We're going to get it all. And we'll
Well,
make a few episodes out of it.
Jonna, issue 1 is being reprinted as a free comic book. So if you are looking to, if you have to place an order for your free comic book day comics, I would go ahead and look through and see what ones look interesting to you. When I order them, I always go out of my way to order stuff that I wouldn't have thought to read. Because we do get free comic book day stuff from DCB Service based on how many comics you've bought from them through the year. And that's where I get, oh, okay, I'm going to pick out the stuff that I would not have read normally just to get a taste of it. And then when I do get the full box at on our free comic book day runabout, those are the ones that I give away to people. Say, hey, here, I read this. You might like it. All right, so what we do for previews, for those of you who are brand new to the show, and if you are brand new to the show, thank you. We go through previews. We do not mention everything we buy. We mention the stuff that is either new, collected that we are interested in or think that you might be interested in, or stuff that's being reprinted that we already have and love. Let's see. On the Spine is a series that I would not have even noticed if it was not on the Spine, Joe.
You know, I didn't notice the spine because I noticed it inside.
So Death Dealer, a new series from, let's see, Opus Comics. Death Dealer is a painting that was created by Frank Frazetta. I think Verotic did a comic book series about it, and Verotic hasn't put out a new book in, I don't know, 20 years. But there is a new company, Opus, that will be putting out licensed books based on Frazetta paintings, and that's going to be the first one. Let's see, on the comic side cover is an image book, The Bone Orchard, starting with The Passageway by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrento, and Dave Stewart is coloring it. You know, it's really interesting. Dave Stewart was in the Eurythmics. Now he's coloring comics. Wait, hold on. I'm hearing from the home office that it's not the same Dave Stewart. Okay,
well, I guess that's off my list. I'm kidding. I keyed.
And on the back cover, a new miniseries of Shallow and Cowboy, which is by Geoff Darrow, who rarely does comics. And when he does, your jaw drops because the art is amazing.
I had this on my list, but I'm not going to probably buy it because I'm going to wait for the graphic novel to fit with all the other graphic novels I have. So, but it's definitely one to buy whenever it's ready. So make sure you're on the right side. Oh, not the Shallow and Cowboy, but flip it back. And we will start with Image. Now, as you know, this is a interactive show. So if you have your previews, we'll start you off like, say, go to page 44. And that's my first pick that I'm going to buy. 8-issue series, 8 Billion Genies. I usually do not mention the creators because I'm terrible at pronouncing names. That right, Charles Soule. Artist Ryan Brownie. Okay, that one was easy. But if you had one wish, what would you wish for? Now, what if everyone else had one wish too? That's 8 Billion Genies, an 8-issue series. And what I do like is they always talk about these guys did a series called Curse Words. So if you read that series, that's to draw you to this. At the exact same time, everyone on Earth gets a genie and one wish. All hell breaks loose, but in a very entertaining way. And that's just the beginning. Buckle in for the wildest ride of the year. Okay, Cory, let's play along with that. You got a genie pop in front of you. You got one wish. What would you wish for? And I didn't read enough of this. Okay, you will receive one wish, not 3. 1. Anything. So apparently you can't wish for more wishes. Be careful when you make your wish, for your intention will be reflected on how it's fulfilled. That's based on the first 3 pages of the art they show you.
Yep. I would actually sit and take my time, but I would probably say that I want enough money to be comfortable.
There was a guy, it was an old joke where a guy walked into a bar with an ostrich and he sat down and he ordered a drink, 2 drinks. Bartender put him on the counter. Guy reached in his pocket, pulled out money, put it on the counter. Exact change plus tip. He ordered another drink. Reached into his pocket, pulled out the same amount of money, set it down. And on the third round of drinks, bartender just had it. He said, how do you do that? How do you reach into your pocket and you know exactly what it is by looking at it? You're not running a tab, you're not running credit, you just have everything. And he goes, well, I ran into a genie who offered me 2 wishes. And I said, you know what I would like is anytime I have need of money, I can just reach into my pocket, pull out what I need, and I have it ready to go. So I don't have to worry about having a job. I don't have to worry about wallets, where anything is, credit, just ready to go. Oh, that's fantastic. That's a brilliant idea. What's with the ostrich? On my second wish, I wish for a chick with long legs.
Boom, ching. Good afternoon, everybody.
8 billion genies. So maybe we'll talk about that next podcast. What would be your wish? Because that's the same thing. I don't know if I would wish for something like that. I don't know if I would wish. I'd love to wish for time travel. Again, you have to think about it because, what if I go back and I go forward and end up killing myself or whatever. And being as my health is bad, with rheumatoid arthritis, I might just wish for a better body. I don't know. But that idea for your intentions would be reflected on how it's fulfilled. And could you imagine all these wishes popping off at once? I actually thought of buying this in book form, but I'm so excited for it. I'm just going to buy it as it comes out. So, but yeah, this one definitely recommended. I'm very excited about it.
On the next page, page 48, is a book I will be getting as a trade paperback. But I want to point it out because sometimes we miss the trade paperbacks when we talk about stuff. That is Twig. Why am I getting it? It's by Scotty Young. I love Scotty Young's
Plus,
writing.
there's 3 pages of art that comes with it. Full page art, actually probably bigger than the comic book. So you can judge by yourself whether or not Kyle Strom does a good art to go along with Scotty. And the answer is, of course, yes. How dare you even ask that?
It's the first day of Twig's new job as a journeyer on a Jeff Smith's Bone-esque quest. Sure, throw in Bone in there. What's that have to do with the book? Nothing.
It's just if you like, they're trying to tie in.
To save a Dark Crystal Labyrinth-style world.
They're trying to give you the rub from Bone and Dark Labyrinth.
Join our hesitant hero for an inspiring and imaginative tale of hope, heartache, and determination against insurmountable odds. It's Scotty Young. I really enjoy his writing. I wish he was drawing it, but the artist they've chosen is perfect for the story. Be buying this as a trade paperback. Looks utterly awesome.
I have one thing I'll mention, but I don't really have anything else new from Image. And the thing I'll mention is that, remember how I mentioned what's the furthest place from here? In case you're missing the latest issues on 61, trade paperback. Oh, it's way in the back. So, but so you can get the first 6 issues. They came with a deluxe edition 7-inch record that always included some type of today's best Indian punk bands. 1 and 2 were canceled on me because I ordered it with the record. And I'm very disappointed. I shouldn't be because they said it was available in comic stores, but allocated. So I can't recommend it anymore. Again, if you buy it, I just want to listen to the music, I mean, they don't even say what the music is. And I haven't gone back to pick up a regular issue to see, does it say, well, this month we're talking about this? Because I always loved that. Hate did that. Jeff Beggs, Hate. Always talking about this is what I'm listening to, so he's trying new music because I'm pretty much stuck in the 80s, somewhat the 90s just because of my kids. But, trying to find new music's tough. So I can't recommend it because I can't get it. All I can say is order the record. If you get it, you could probably flip it on the eBays. Normally, I would go right now on eBays and see if that's true, but their server's been goofy all day today. And every time I get in there, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. So I figured let it be. And if you do happen to run across one at a record store, or actually you at comic shops, I guess this isn't available in record store. Think of your old pal Kray and let me know.
I'm going to plug a couple of things for new music, Joe.
Cool.
First is a podcast called Little Steven's Underground Garage. It's a station on Sirius XM. It is a radio show that is syndicated on rock stations. It is also available as a podcast. It's 2 hours where they play a mix of new stuff that you haven't heard from bands either that you know or bands that you want to know if you're into garage rock. Or if you have a Spotify, look me up. Because one of the lists that I do, now that I've kind of figured out how to do Spotify, is I will take what Little Steven's Underground Garage has as the coolest song in the world this week and add it to the playlist called Garage Rock for that year. So this year's is Garage Rock 2022. And the songs that they have so far are things such as Farewell OK by Elvis Costello and the Imposters, I Got a Message for You by Mickey Lay's Mutated Music. Let's see, Holy by The Now, Boss by The Bloods, probably my favorite song so far this year, Taking Me Back by Jack White. Oh my God, is that a good song? See, All Tomorrow's Parties by the Grip Weasels, I'll Be Back Someday by Tegan and Sarah, and a song that you would know, Joe, Too Fun for My Health by the Dolly Rots.
Cool.
Because they were one of the coolest songs in the world this week. So there are ways to find new music. It's just you're not going to find it on the radio.
Hell no.
I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but as radio listenership, over-the-air radio listenership decreases, they play more and more songs that people are already familiar with because they feel that, oh, this is a song that the listeners don't know. They may change the channel. Never mind the fact that that's not what made me change the channel. It was the 7-minute block of ads every 20 minutes that would make me change the channel. My next comic is one I already have.
Yeah.
On page 69, Pulp the Process Edition.
Oh, yeah. I went on and on about Pulp a while back because I had read it. Matter of fact, it was sitting right there on my bookshelf right behind me.
Yep, this is the entire start to finish process from Ed Brubaker's original notebook entries to the initial script to Sean Phillips' breakdowns and pencils all the way to the final edited and polished book itself presented in full color. See what the book started out as and changed in the final version. I don't think I've ever seen something like this. And this is like Criterion Edition for a comic where here's everything. Here's how it started. I know with Watchmen, they put, I think, the first issue of Alan Moore's original script in the big deluxe slipcased, what do they call that? The Absolute Edition. I love that sort of thing. That's the sort of thing, especially if you are wanting to create comics, you're wanting to write comics, you're wanting to draw comics, you're wanting to work in comics. This is how you learn the process. This is how you see how people who are experts in the field do the work, break it down, build a story. It's $40, well worth it. Well worth
Cory,
it.
Do you know, when was the last issue of Age of Bronze? When did it come out?
Oh, gosh, ages ago.
Yep. And did you know the near price guide of that last issue, the near mint price guide issue, I should say price of that. I'm fumbling because I'm jawstruck.
I imagine it costs a lot.
$59.
$59.
Although
Okay.
I see one for $20 on a non-eBay site. But if you go back to page 64, I point this out because Eric Shanor has another. He got how do you say his name? Euripides?
Yes.
To actually pen something for him to draw, and Age of Bronze is returning. I kid, of course, but Age of Bronze came out way back in 1998. I still have my comic store, the big one. And it's, Eric is incredibly talented. He's retelling the complete story of the Trojan War. I have no idea if he got to the end of it by the time he went from issue 1. I think he self-published for a while, or was he always with Image?
He was always with Image.
Okay, he was always with Image. And then the last issue, like I said, came out in 33. There are a number of books you can find, some special editions that should still be in print. But this is the first new stuff he's done since 2013. And I pointed out because if you are an Age of Bronze fan, you may not realize he's coming back. This is a trim size, 6x9. And let's see the story. High King Agamemnon faces the most crushing. Yeah, I can say ancient Greek names, but I can't say newer names. Anyways, faces the most crushing dilemma of his life: kill his beloved eldest daughter or forfeit victory in the Trojan War. Father's secret plot clashes with a girl's romantic dreams in this chilling classic play from ancient Greece. So he's taking the dramatic script from Euripides and adapting it. So let's see, it's adapted by writer Edward Einhorn, and then Eric Shanor is doing the art for it. So just a fantastic idea, not terribly expensive, $16.99. Again, I pointed out as an Age of Bronze fan, and he's one of the guys I actually met at the San Diego Comic-Con that you and I went to. And although at the time I was planning to sell my shop, had I not, I took pictures of almost every creator I ran across. And then the idea would be as I would have a type of, featuring and a picture of the creator, because back then there weren't a lot of pictures. You'd hear of these guys, you never know what they look like. And then I had all the Age of Bronze comics and that around it, because we always supported a lot of independents, even though it is an Image guy. This is very much considered an independent comic. So check that out if that sounds like yeah. What do you call a guy who studied ancient history, I guess?
A historian.
Historian, there you go. Look, I see Cory knows. That's why I asked Cory. Cory knows all.
Not only do I know all, I also point out on page 70, Rick Grimes 2000.
Ooh,
this is from the Skybound miniseries. This is the story where Rick Grimes wakes up on an alien spaceship.
Yes, soon to be. Well, probably not.
So the reason they did this, I don't know if many people know this story. Zombie books were not exactly hot in the early 2000s. Zombie movies were pretty much the lowest of low budget. There was really the only zombie book that had done anything that had made any sort of money was Dead World. And I love Dead World, but every so often it would get canceled, and then they would bring it back and say, all right, everything in the previous series, forget it. We're starting over.
Forget about it. And
we go like 10 issues, and then, all right, everything in the previous series, forget about it. We're starting over. So when he pitched it to Image, he said, now, it seems like a zombie book, but we're going to reveal that it's step 1 in an alien invasion. And they bought it. And then once the book was a hit, they said, well, when did the aliens show up? Oh, they don't. And he would make jokes about it in the letters page. So in the Skybound miniseries, to celebrate the 20 years of Skybound, or 15 years, whatever the anniversary was, he did the story showing that it was aliens all along.
It was aliens all along.
This is a weird, funny twist on Walking Dead. It was a lot of fun. If you're a Walking Dead fan, you got to pick it up. It plays so much with the characters. It's just fun. It's just fun.
That book I mentioned earlier, What's the Furthest Place from Here? The graphic novel's on page 71 there, right across from Rick Grimes. So you got two things to pick up.
And the books they are pushing this month on page 75 are May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So they have books that are created by Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Let's see. I collect Monstrous. I buy it in the trades. Good Asians on the list. I want to pick it up. Through my daughter, she picked up Snot Girl, so I was able to read that. I have Alex and Ada. I have the Paper Girls complete story.
It's so good.
I know. I'm thinking I might bring that with me when I go to Hawaii, or in Hawaii. Sorry, whatever. We'll figure it out later. And Ascender's another one that I have and haven't read yet. So I've done quite good. Well, now I got a few more I can pick up.
And for me, that was it for Image.
Cool. Onward to Dark Horse. Let's see. I've got a couple from Dark Horse. On page 110, Eden. Actually, I'll mention across from there's one called Astonishing Times. That looks pretty good. It's in a world where superheroes are commonplace. Noah Sands, young reporter, trying to live up to the legacy of his father, investigates a mystery involving missing superheroes that quickly turns into a thrilling conspiracy. Modern superhero story that celebrates the genre and redefines heroes for a new generation. That looks interesting. Eden's one I'm picking up. In the near future, 2 convicts, a disgraced senator and her husband, are sentenced to 25 years in cryogenic penal facility for a horrible crime they claim they didn't commit. They accidentally are released when the prison malfunctions and discover they've been incarcerated for thousands of years and now are the only survivors of a global catastrophe that wiped out everyone else. The event was so devastating that prehistoric creatures now walk the earth once more. Will the world's worst criminals be able to rise to the challenge of building a better society than the one they left? And is true redemption ever really possible? This was collected in Comicology, first time in print. So this would be a way to pick it up.
Back on page 99, Dark Horse now is printing all of the Brian Michael Bendis stuff, so they are putting out a new version of Jinx. Jinx was the graphic novel that he did back for Caliber. Then it was printed by Marvel. Then it was printed by DC, and now it's over at Dark Horse. If you ever wanted to know why Marvel hired Brian Michael Bendis, these books, Jinx and AKA Goldfish, are the reason why. They're fantastic books, and it's probably some of the last time you'll ever see Brian Michael Bendis art. Because once he got his job at Marvel, he quit drawing because, well, writing's a lot easier and he could do it faster. I loved Jinx and AKA Goldfish. They were crime comics when there weren't any crime comics. So if you want to see where Brian Michael Bendis came from, you'll want to pick that up. Another one that Joe skipped over that I'm actually going to pick up, Star Wars Rebels trade paperback on 103. This reprints the stories from Star Wars Rebels magazine and Star Wars Rebels animation magazine. Star Wars Rebels is the Disney Plus series that takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. These have never been in comics before. They've only been in the magazines. So this is the first of Dark Horse's all ages Star Wars line. They got that back. It was with IDW. Now it's over at Dark Horse. Joe?
On page 119, Aztec Ace, the complete collection hardcover. It's a 15-issue run created by Doug Menke. It's finally collected here for the first time.
Doug Mensch, not Doug Mensch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I tell you, Cory, remind me next time, Ryder, do you got your readers with you? Because I'm sitting back trying to read it. I'm like, what? Anyways, first time by It's Alive and Dark Horse being published. It includes a new foreword by original series editor Kat
Ironwood.
Thank you. And bonus collaborations between Mike and Tim Sale. Let's see. Aztec Ace stars Kaza, aka Ace, as he travels between the Aztec Empire and his home in the 23rd century. Ace, along with his pupil, Brigitte Chronopoulos, and his navigator named Head, struggled to save his own dimension from time paradoxes created by his enemy, the mysterious Nine Crocodile. So, I mean, this thing, when did this come out originally? I mean, this was back in the 80s, wasn't it?
85, 86.
Yeah.
Now, they did a Kickstarter for this, and I balked at it because it's 528 pages, $80 for the hardcover.
Yeah.
And
Kind
I
of like
imagine
an omnibus type thing.
And I imagine it's because this is one of those series where all the film was lost in the flood that all pretty much wiped out Eclipse Comics. However, I was able to find the complete set at the College of Comic Book Knowledge.
Whoa.
And they were selling it for $20. So
Nice.
I just picked that up instead. Now, would I like all the extras? Yeah, $79.99 is really pricey. It's a good series. It is what if Doctor Who were based on Aztec lore instead of British lore. And it's Doug Mensch back in the 80s, so it was right after he'd finished his run on Master of Kung Fu. Dan Day, who was Gene Day's brother, and Thomas Yates drew it a lot like how Gene Day drew. It's a fantastic series. It is not a series you rush through, by the way. You need to stop and linger on the art to get the full effect, because this is one of those series where there's a lot of text, but you got to look at the panel, then look at the page, and look at the page in context, because it's really complicated with all the time travel.
And by the way, that if you're back issue prone instead of graphic novel prone, they're not terribly expensive. You just got to luck out like Cory didn't find them. Sometimes series like these are harder to collect because nobody is picking them up.
Well, I think by the end, I remember I was buying this at my local shop, and by like the 6th or 7th series, he wasn't putting it on the shelf anymore because I was the only one buying it.
Yeah.
If you go to page 121, our EC volume is a soft cover of EC Archives, The Haunt of Fear, Volume 2. This is the golden era of EC. I would say the first 2 volumes of all of the new trend stuff is the best. As it went on, the art was still great, the stories were still good, but they kind of had to keep topping themselves. So it became a little overkill by the end. But Volume 2, let's see, you got Johnny Craig, you got Graham Ingalls, you got Jack Davis, you got Jack Kamen, you got George Rossos, Joe Orlando. Stories are all by Bill Gates, Al Feldstein, and Jerry DeFuccio. This is the golden age of EC. As I always say, they had a killer lineup of artists. The best lineup of artists any comic company ever had. If you've not read EC comics before, they're putting them out at affordable prices now. These volumes, they're $20, which means you can get them through online retailers for around $12 to $13. Well worth your time. The stories still stand up. And for me, that was it for Dark Horse.
Yep, same here. IDW. 2 things to point out at IDW. I'm not buying either, but I do point them out because if you're a My Little Pony fan, page 134, there's a new series starting, My Little Pony #1. And I would imagine there's probably variant covers if you're so inclined. If you're a Godzilla fan, on page 137, there's one of them one-shots kind of on the shelf about, I might buy it, might not, Godzilla Rivals versus Gigan. It's a one-shot. Gigan is one of the most terrifying monsters I always thought Godzilla had because he had that buzzsaw in his chest. And, you get in close and that thing fires up. Well, apparently, in this particular one, let's see, it's 2008. The Nebulons, those insectoid would-be conquerors of Earth, have hijacked networked computers, all the MMOs, uploaded the collective fighting technique into Gigan to go against Godzilla. $7.99, 52 pages. Pick it up now, wait for the inevitable trade paperback, but this sounds good. And of course, right below it, Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 3. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Hey, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Since I'm slowly working my way through Discovery, did you buy any of the Discovery comic books?
I have not yet.
Did you buy any of the books?
Yes.
Okay.
the novels are, for the most part, about the characters before they came to Discovery.
Yeah, because I had read somewhere one of the books was about the captain in the first season.
Yes.
The real captain, because he was apparently, I don't know if this is a rule in the Mirror universe, if you switch, the other one goes back. So when the Mirror Universe guy came our way, our guy went to his universe, and apparently a novel covers that he's still stuck there. So if that's so, I got to get the name of the novel from you now or later and look it up, because that actually intrigues me. But
now I'm going to point something out, even though I'm not a fan of the Transformers. And I'm kind of surprised Joe hasn't pointed it out, but to me that means he's given up on the comic. On page 142.
You mean when I sold my entire Marvel run about a year and a half ago, that wasn't the key?
Well, I didn't know if you were reading the IDW stuff or not, but if you are, on page 142, the final issue of Transformers. This is a extra long final issue wrapping up the stories. There will be a Transformers Special 2022 next month because the Transformers and G.I. Joe will be going over to Image. Well, they haven't announced it's going over to Image, but it's going over to Image.
It's going to Image.
But on page 132 is a mini-series called Transformers Last Bot Standing. The war for Cybertron is long over. The war from Cybertron never ends. The planet Donoct sits on the edge of the universe, far away from all the stars that are flickering and fading out one last time. It's a world on the precipice of revolution, industrialization, taking its first steps into the realm of the mechanical, and on the far edge of nowhere, a visitor arrives, and the planet will never be the same again. And it seems to me like they are wrapping up all the IDW continuity of Transformers. So when it goes to Image, it will probably have an all new storyline, probably back to basics like they always do. For G.I. Joe, it is going to be wrapping up too, but they don't have anything about the wrapping up. I will be incredibly interested to see if they continue the Larry Hama series.
Well, it's kind of interesting because the other IDW series have kind of gone sideways, and the only one still standing is Larry Hama's book, which is its own continuity from the original Marvel series.
Now, I'm going off on all sorts of rabbit trails today because I'm not buying as many books. Joe, I have read something called The Oral History of Wolverine. And it's an article written about Wolverine where they interviewed the creators over time, Roy Thomas, Larry Hama, Chris Claremont, the people who wrote the movies, etc. And Larry Hama says something that I dispute. He said, now you've read the Wolverine comic, the first one from 88 on. He said that the book was about to be canceled due to low sales when he came on the book because, well, they figured I couldn't screw it up anymore. Now, I know the sales figures from that time period because I was working at Schindler's. Wolverine was still a top 20 book. And they put an expensive artist, Mark Silvestri, on it. And all I could think is that Marvel had sales expectations for Wolverine that were really high, and it wasn't meeting those. Because when he said that, I went back and I looked. Wolverine was still in the top 20 of overall sales. It was still selling 150,000 copies. So all I could think is it wasn't, oh, the sales are so bad we're going to cancel it. It was more, why isn't Wolverine selling as much as the X-Men? So Larry Hama's run is actually when I jumped off because I thought the whole LCD and LE stuff was just annoying. Mark Silvestri drew every person's face exactly the same, and it's, I guess I'm tapping out. So I found that interesting about Larry Hama. Next up is Dynamite.
Dynamite. You got anything from Dynamite?
I do not.
Well, I've got things I'm going to point out, not necessarily things I'm going to buy. Page 146, a new Vampirella series, Vampirella Strikes. Page 152, a new Elvira series, #1. Page 157, a new Red Sonja,
God,
series.
a whole bunch of new #1s. What a shock.
Now, on page 170 is something interesting. The Boys Script Book, Volume 1. Like Cory talked about, this is kind of a behind-the-scenes insider type thing where the scripts for various issues, including #1, are there along with the miniseries, a couple from the miniseries. Each script features the accompanying art for a one-of-a-kind look into the creative process. So if you want to see how Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson worked, this is a interesting way of doing it. Plus, if you got a little ching, you could get a signed edition, signed by Garth Ennis.
Now, if I were to buy this, I would buy the signed edition. You know why?
Oh, absolutely.
It's signed by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. The unsigned is $24.99. The signed is $39.99. $15 to get a signature of both Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, and it's going to be limited. Hell yeah. Because normally if something's signed, it's 2 to 3 times the cost.
Yeah. Well, just go back to page 166. Here's Volume 2, The Boys Oversized Omnibus. We had said there's going to be 3 copies. So you can get the omnibus for $99.99 or the signed hardcover for $199.99. So if assuming that's not a mistake, yeah, you're right. That is a good deal. Let's see what other fun things from let's see, the omnibus on page 174 is something interesting. There's Vampirella Bloodlust #1 facsimile edition. This is the James Robinson Joe Jusko from Once Upon a Time, $4.99. I mean, you can find it online. I believe it was a 2-issue miniseries. So here you got, they doing just the one? It must be if it's a facsimile. So that's kind of neat. On the other side, page 175 is all the fun stuff that they do. You've got the Elvira Dark, well, we used to call them Ouija boards. They call it the Spectral Switchboard.
They can't call it a Ouija board because Ouija board is owned by Parker Brothers.
Which is weird because it was a Ouija board before that. Vampirella tarot cards. There's some boys cards, enamel pins of Red Sonja, a boys collectible Homelander $2 bill. And the other thing of interest, well, on the next page, you got 176, Elvira, the Classic Years Omnibus, reprinting all the classic Claypool Elvira books. So if you don't have them in your collection, here's your chance to get them all in one fell swoop.
Odds are you don't have them because they did not sell well.
Yep. Let's see. Army of Darkness trade, Kiss Phantom Obsession trade for your Army of Darkness Kiss fans. On the corner is something I've been meaning to look up. Vampirella #16 Gem Mint Limited Edition. It says it's coming to direct market for the first time. Beautiful limited edition by Vampirella cover artist Ken Hauser. Unique collector item, was done in collaboration with popular comic book YouTube Gem Mint Collectibles. So they claim they have over 140 subscribers for them.
They're a comic news YouTube broadcaster.
So how they did this in collaboration with them is interesting. I don't know if that means there's 140,000 of these out there or if it was available only through them initially.
If you go to the YouTube page, you'll see they've got 140,000 subscribers, and it's okay. We're going to do this special collectible that you could buy first through them and now through.
Yeah. And if you're on the Facebooks, you're going to see that more and more stores and even the artists themselves are doing special cover, special edition. You can't go 5 minutes without tripping over one. You know, and I bought one. What was the I don't know where the hell I put it. The She-Hulk edition, I believe that Joe Jusko did, and I have one coming from Greg Horn. They had to redo. He didn't like the way they showed up, and he wasn't going to sign them until they were to his satisfaction. We've talked about Kickstarters we support. So again, if you're really, really into variant covers, you got to really look around because some of these things are special. I wanted to see how this price $24.99 compares to the other eBays. But like I said, eBay's down. Just thought I'd point it out because I thought it was kind of interesting. And that was kind of the fun stuff I thought of through Dynamite.
You are going to see more and more of those as the cost of printing smaller runs gets cheaper and cheaper. You're going to see more shops who, what was it? It used to be you had to order so many copies in order to get your own cover when they would do those. And that number has been progressively dropping, as all they really need to do for a special cover when they're doing a print run is, all right, stop. Here's the new cover. I think for one comic, and it was an indie book, and I don't remember what it was. I'm sorry, because it was months ago, where a shop said all I needed to do was order 100 copies to get a special cover that was just available in my shop. So I have a feeling we're going to see more and more of these sorts of things from the artists, the creators, etc., to kind of, like Patrick Gleason did that beautiful Spider-Man cover, and everybody went, oh my gosh, I got to have it from him.
I actually got one of those that was signed by him, a Virgin sign cover. But every other time I've tried to get in, it's like, it's sold out. So he's selling out so quick. You know, Cory, we should maybe talk about, maybe we should get on his gravy train. That'd be something we could do.
But what comic?
Doesn't really look like it matters, does it?
No, it has to be something that we like.
We could print our own comic even.
That's it.
We got enough fans out there. I mean, we know enough professionals where we could say, could you do a page and maybe make a collage of things, and we could offer it through our podcast and make millions of billions of dollars and maybe upgrade this stupid microphone.
Joe, I've got it. I will contact Continuity Studios, and I will see if they will do a special reprint.
They have a habit of losing stuff.
Yeah, but Joe, hear me out on this. A special reprint just for our listeners of Skate Man #1.
Ooh.
Boom!
I've only got one thing. If you're a Dune fan, Dune: The Waters of Canley. It's a 4-issue miniseries starting out. They're going deeper into the Dune universe. In the aftermath of Batter of Aka King, legendary House War Master takes refuge with spice smugglers. There's the only word I understood in the entire thing. Spice. Following revenge against you, no matter what the cost. It doesn't matter. If you're Dune, you're going to love this anyways.
You know what I wish somebody would do?
Francisco Mariarino. What's that?
Somebody needs to reprint the National Lampoon book, Dune, D-O-O-N.
That's funny. I actually got that one.
And Board of the Rings.
Board of the Rings.
Board of the Rings was one of the funniest damn things I ever read. Those were both Harvard Lampoon, not National Harvard Lampoon. Oh, Board of the Rings and Dune. I wish they would do more parody books like that. But there aren't enough booksellers out there. Wait a minute.
People take things so seriously nowadays.
I've got it. Joe, we do a parody book of Skate Man.
I will think about that as I'm drinking Mai Tais on the fabulous black beaches in Hawaii.
Now we have to do it as a prose book because I can't draw.
Well, no, that's why we got to talk to some of our artist fans and maybe get them to, if we make it like a 16, 17 page comic, and then you can do your prose crap at the end, and we could have them, maybe everybody would do a page for us. Okay. Of course, I have no idea how much some of these guys charge for a page of comic, but it's
why don't we ask Angel Medina if he wants to do a Skate Man comic?
What do you think, Angel? You're out there listening. Give us a call.
Right. Operators are standing by. Let's go on to sitting DC.
Probably. We're not that mean.
Let's go to DC.
All right. This is your DC Connect issue number 22. I will start off the fun right there on page 4. Batman Fortress #1. This is a 8-issue series. When an unknown alien ship enters Earth's atmosphere, disrupting global power and communications and plunging the planet into chaos, the world is left wondering, where is Superman when he's needed most? In the mysterious absence of the last son of Krypton, Batman must rally the rest of the Justice League to counter the threat. But first, he must quell a crime wave on the blackened out streets of Gotham. You gotta have your priorities, man. Gotham first. Screw the rest of the world. Let's see. Gary Whittaker from Rogue One, Star Wars Story, and Derek Robertson from The Boys.
Love Derek Robertson's art.
Yeah.
Love his art.
Yeah, this one looks to be good. Couple variant covers. And of course, if you're like me and you're going to wait, there's an inevitable graphic novel in your future. What do you got first up?
There was not a lot in regular series that jumped out at me because with DC, I don't buy a lot of their regular series. I'm kind of looking through it right now.
Okay.
And I will point out one that looks like one of the dumbest comics I've seen in forever.
I save it. Let me go through the serious one because I know exactly what you're talking about. Page 12, Andromeda, Aquaman Andromeda. This is a 3-issue Prestige Plus series. Deep in the Pacific Ocean, the farthest possible distance from any land sits Point Nemo. It's the spaceship graveyard. Since the dawn of space race, nations of the world have sent their crafts there on splashdown to sink beneath the silent seas. But there is something else at Point Nemo, a structure never made by human hands, and that structure seems to be waking up. Crew of the experimental submarine Andromeda, powered by a mysterious black hole drive, Romulans, have been chosen to investigate this mystery. But they aren't the only ones pursuing it. Anything of value beneath the ocean is of value to the master pirate Black Manta. And anything that attracts Black Manta attracts Arthur Curry, his lifelong foe. But heaven help him when the door opens and the mystery at Point Nemo swings wide to admit them. They're saying this is a bracing cosmic horror sensibility brought to Aquaman. So that one caught my eye. Let's see, what else serious do I have?
Well, I have a few serious ones.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do that, and then we'll use the other one.
There is a book, another Tom King 12-issue series called Danger Street. Joining the Justice League is a goal for any superhero, but what happens when a quest for membership takes a sinister turn? Join Starman, Metamorpho, and Warlord as they prove themselves worthy by summoning and defeating Darkseid in battle. Soon they'll learn that calling upon a new god never ends well, and the world is headed for a crisis as a result. What this is, Tom King is going to be using the characters from the, what was it called, the first issue series.
DC first issue.
Yeah, DC first issue. That's why you've got Metamorpho, Starman, not the Starman you know, Warlord, Lady Cop, Manhunter, the Green Team, Creeper. 12 issues. Let's see, it's written by Tom King. I love Tom King.
Oh, yeah.
I love Tom King. Let's see, art and cover by George Fornes, but a variant cover by Steve Rude.
Yeah.
So,
dude.
Anytime there's Steve Rude art, I'm going to be a happy man.
And of course, you got Manhunter, Lady Cop, the Green Team. That's Kirby. The Creeper.
No, the Green Team was Joe Simon.
Oh, you're right.
And the premise of the Green Team was they were. It's weird that what DC did in the 70s, nothing was working. So they went to Kirby and Simon and said, we need boy gangs. We need boy gangs. And then when they delivered them, they're like, no, that's not what we want. That's why you had in Jimmy Olsen, the Return to the Newsboy League, except they were clones of the original. That's why you had the Dingbats of Danger Street and the Green Team, which were kid millionaires who went around the world using their money to solve problems. On the next page.
Oh, by the way, New Gods are in there too, because there was an issue of New Gods in that whole series.
Yes, that was the one where Jeanette Kahn came in and looked over the sales and went, why did you cancel New Gods? This thing's selling better than everything except Superman. Oh, we thought it would sell, 500,000 copies. Nothing is selling 500,000 copies. Bring it back now. On the next page, Blood Syndicate, Season 1, another milestone book. Blood Syndicate was the team book of the Milestone series. You asked and we delivered. The Blood Syndicate is back. Wise Son and Tech-9 have returned from their military tours in Afghanistan, and life in Dakota City could not be more different. While Icon and Rocket have been busy cleaning up the streets, Bang Babies, who are super-powered individuals in this world, have been forming rival gang factions with Holocaust influence and superpowered army growing, who will look out for the people of Paris Island when the Capes aren't watching. What secrets do Wise Son and Tech-9 hide from their time overseas as the struggle for power on the chaotic streets spills into war? Who will reemerge victorious as the new kingpin of Paris Island? Chris Cross, who drew it in the 90s, is back doing some of the art, not all of it. Jeffrey Thorne, new writer, haven't seen his stuff before, but it's Blood Syndicate. I love the Milestone universe, and the return of the Milestone books has been fantastic, even without Dwayne McDuffie as kind of their guiding light. So this is another one I'm pointing out, but I will be picking it up as a trade paperback. The Static Season 1 is collected as a hardcover, so going to be picking that up with this one. It is, let's see, Milestone Returns Infinite Edition number 0 and Static Season 1, 1 through 6.
Let's see, page 24, Justice League Road to Dark Crisis. It's a one-shot dealing with the death of the Justice League. And across from it is the thing we were talking about, the Dark Crisis Free Comic Book Day Special Edition. Let your comic shop know if you are going to do the Dark Crisis, you're going to want this. You probably want the tie-in, or wait for the inevitable omnibus.
Now, we're about to get into the trade paperbacks and stuff, so the dumbest idea that I have seen in print since Power Pachyderms is being published by DC this month. Joe, can you guess what it is?
I don't even want to go back to find it. It's just that much. It's not even...
The Jurassic League.
No offense to Daniel Warren Johnson, Juan Gideon.
What if the Justice League were dinosaurs? Ugh.
You get the now this is either going to be worst idea ever, or it's going to be so wildly popular we're going to go, you know what, we were wrong. That number 1's going for $500 right now. We should have bought it.
We're not going to be wrong.
No. Although if you were a Fables fan, on page 34, I'm going to point out Fables is starting up at 151. Bill Willingham, Mark Buckingham, Steve Lilola. Sorry, Steve. Back in time for his 20th anniversary. I'm still trying to get the rest of my trades together. I'm missing some of the later ones, but I mention this because if you buy the series you want to jump on, I will be buying this as graphic novels to continue on with the graphic novels I have, because this is on my list of things to be reread once I have all the graphic novels, because like I said, I don't know what my graphic novel list is. Oh, here it is. Oh my God, I'm surprised I found something.
Now, they do have tie-ins to the DC movies coming out, and it's a good thing that DC's always late on everything because the movies have been delayed. Legion of Super Pets has been delayed. Black Adam has been delayed. There is a trade paperback. There is a trade paperback, Black Adam, Rise and Fall of an Empire, which reprints the Black Adam story from the 52 series. So I think that's really interesting that they just went through and pulled the Black Adam story out of 52 to put into a trade paperback. They've also got the Black Adam Origin series and Black Adam JSA story. Those are all for the movie. Also, a series that I read the first issue of and absolutely loved. Haven't read the rest yet. Batman 89 is coming out as a trade paperback, written by the screenwriter who wrote the first Batman movie. This is what he would have done for the second Batman movie. Mad Magazine, the 70-year anniversary issue is in this month. It's all reprints. It's not special size, but it is going to have a special cover for the 70th anniversary.
Yeah. All right.
I like the Mad reprints. I think they're very well done. Oh, and DC really wants my money this month.
Because?
They are putting out a new version of the 52 Omnibus. The first time it came out, I was not working a job where I could afford omnibuses. Now it's listed here as being $150, but DC has already said no, it's going to be $175. The most expensive omnibus so far.
Yeah.
It reprints all 52 issues. And here's the thing. This was kind of my golden age of DC, for lack of a better term, because I then every so often I go, oh man, I really love that. Oh, it was over 10 years ago. No, it was further than that. This reprints 1 through 52. Here's the writing team. Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, Mark Waid, Keith Giffen. And DC let them all go away over to Marvel. And then they wondered, sales on all our books have started falling. Why is that? Well, because the people who loved your suit basically built the foundation for your company going forward after Infinite Crisis. You, with Mark Waid, you kind of pissed him off and fired him. Grant Morrison, you kind of pissed him off. Greg Rucka, pissed him off. Jeff Johns, you kept him around and then kind of took away series after series after series so that now he's doing stuff on his own. Wonder. No, those two things can't be related at all, can they, Joe?
Never.
I already have this in like 5 or 6 different forms, so I'm not buying it. But if you've not bought it before, Absolute Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute is the big slipcase books, beautiful printing. This was such a great series. The stories are okay. It's basically Swamp Thing versus different movie monsters, kind of reformatted but the art by Bernie Wrightson just blows you away as you look through it. There's a reason why Bernie Wrightson became this art god for so many people, and it's this book. What was the next one that jumped out at me that I went, oh, you want all my money, don't you?
Golden Age Omnibus number 7?
No. Oh, it was the, let's see. It was the, no, that must have been the last one where they had the Jeff Johns JLA Omnibus Volume 2. This does have Justice League Infinity, which is by J.M. DeMatteis and continues from the animated series. And it does also have the Justice League Last Ride, which is the last of the Justice League stories of the current run. So that was it for me for DC. Joe, did you have anything else?
Nope.
Well then, now it's time for even more of my money to go away.
Ooh.
It's Marvel!
How marvelous. Are you doing Captain America 1?
I'm pulling it up here because, I haven't gotten I got previews, but I didn't get my DC or Marvel.
Oh. So I went over to the college to pick up mine. They had both of them there. Just waiting, free, as usual.
You know how I'm able to get the Marvel book?
Online.
Because it's not on DCB service.
No.
But every issue of the Marvel preview is available free for your Kindle through Amazon, which I found fascinating. It was like,
Amazon gets
really?
it, but nobody else does.
That very well could be. So Captain America, boy, they have a few number ones. Captain America, Symbol of Truth, Tochi Onibuchi, and R.B. Silva. I don't know as I'm picking this first issue up. I will wait until I read it on the app. And then if I like it, I'll buy the trade paperback.
Did they do the 0 issue from last month?
Yes. Last month was issue 0.
Yeah, see, I ordered the 0 issue, but I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with this, though. My first one, if you do have the Marvels, catalog. This is number 6, March for May, 22nd shipping products. Let's see. I'm going to jump to page 11 and Savage Avengers number 1.
Yes.
Just because I had so much fun with the first one, and it did kind of lose me a little bit in the middle, but I was able to jump back on. And yeah, I'm on board. Conan's back in the Marvel Universe. Let's see. What happens when Conan finds himself on the run from cybernetic soldier we know as Deathlock? He turns to other loners, berserkers, killers, in a hope to survive the night. Can these Savage Avengers defy Deathlock's murderous manhunt, or will they become his next target in Crosshairs of Tomorrow? So we see on the cover, is that Rolk? No. Who's a Hulk? Wolverine. Thank you. I see Cloak and Dagger. I see Anti-Venom. I'm assuming that's the Black Knight, the female Daredevil, and of course, I thought Deathlock was going to be a good guy, but apparently he's a bad guy in this one. So yeah, this looks to be fun. I had fun with the first series. So, and you get a crazy piece of the art on the next page. So
yeah, that art looks fantastic.
Yeah, I'm along for the ride on this one.
They are doing a 2099 one of those event series, which will have an alpha and omega and a bunch of one shots. Again, I like the 2099 world. Steve Orlando's a good writer. This is one that I, again, will pick up as a trade. But you got Spider-Man 2099, Alpha, Exodus 1, Exodus 2, Loki 2099, etc., etc. New Thunderbolts miniseries by Jim Zub.
But I was going to say, if you have, hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy the first Moon Knight that came back way back when what was that guy's name? Doug Wink? And, Mensch. And some cat, Bill Sink a Witch. I'm not sure. Anyways, on page 20, you got Moon Knight number 1 facsimile editions. I always find facsimile editions fun because it is essentially the whole thing, including ads, letter pages, any other stories they may be having, because the big thing was this was his first issue after floating around Marvel Spotlight, Werewolf by Night. I don't know.
And as a backup in the Hulk comic, the Hulk magazine.
Yeah, and there were a few other places he popped around. I'm sure I have it in my omnibus. But there's your chance to buy the facsimile edition. Or, like I said, go expensive and buy the other one.
And right under that is a new Marvel Tales for the Thunderbolts. It reprints Thunderbolts 1 and 2, their appearance in Incredible Hulk, and the Tales of the Marvel Universe number 1. Thunderbolts was one of the coolest books at the time because it had an incredible secret and nobody knew it till the book came out. They just said, hey, the Avengers are gone. Here's a new group of superheroes to take their place. And I think this was when the last time a comic really surprised me because they kept a lid on the twist at the end.
Yeah.
Which now everybody knows it was the Masters of Evil who had changed. Basically, they changed up their costumes and names so that now everybody would think they were superheroes. And the series then became, some of them liked being heroes, some of them didn't, and the tension in the team. So the Marvel Tales, it's basically like buying a trade paperback for dirt cheap. It's 104 pages for $8.
Yeah. Or wait, because for some reason a lot of these show up at comic stores for like $3. They must liquidate them after a certain amount of time. On the next page, page 23, I've been gaming about this since he talked about it last month. Peter David announced he's bringing back the new Fantastic Four. This is the Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk that showed up. Oh, where was that? That was
during Walt Simonson's run.
Yeah. And it was done as a serious / joke thing because back then, the Hulk was hot, Wolverine was hot, Ghost Rider was hot, and of course everybody teamed up with Spider-Man. So Fantastic Four were gone. They teamed up briefly. Well, here's a 5-issue miniseries that Peter David's writing, Alan Robinson's drawing, and there's tons of variant covers. I don't know which one I went for. I think I might have gone for the Art Adams or the Walt Simonson cover. Or it might have just stuck with Rob Lim. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of fun. Peter David could write the phone book and I'd buy it. A couple pages of art to go with it. I'm already getting verklempt. Cory, what do you got next?
It is set right after the original story, so it is set in the past.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to point out they're doing another Secret Invasion because of the Secret Invasion series coming to Disney Plus. These sequels to big events always strike me as weird.
Yeah.
Because that was a big crossover event. Now this is just a 5-issue miniseries. However, I do want to point out the miniseries after it, which is Gambit by Chris Claremont and Sid Kotian. Claremont has been asking people for help with this. And I found it interesting. He said, all right, I need to know what's going on with the X-Men now because I don't read it anymore. What is the order in which to read the Hickman books? And people said all sorts of things. My suggestion was, hey, Marvel's doing these reprints that print it in the order you're to read it in. Just ask them for those books. And he said that, oh, I get a bunch of free comics and it's research. Cool.
So did you get yourself a copy of King Conan #3?
I did not.
I didn't either, and I don't really care to. I guess they're renaming somebody because indigenous comic artists and fans found a character name and depiction of this character hypersexualized and disrespectful.
Yes, it was Sacagawea, which has kind of become a bone of contention for Native Americans because in British lore, because we have very little actual proof of what was going on there. In British lore, she fell in love with the settlers and married one, and Disney made a movie about it. And the Native Americans say no, she was an underage girl who was kidnapped into a forced wedding and wanted to return to her tribe. In King Conan, he uses the name for basically a regular Conan girl. And he said, I had no idea the connotations of it. I apologize. He's basically doing a story where Conan has left the area that we know from the Robert E. Howard stuff and has sailed west and ended up in the Americas. Even before the Vikings went there. So he has apologized. He will change the name of the character because he didn't realize the connotations of the name of the character.
Meanwhile,
I think it's an honest mistake.
Oh, yeah, I'll give him that. But it's an instant collectible. So go find one for yourself. Sit on it. It'll be worth money. That's the way banned books work. Well, it's not really banned, but they're not going to pulp them. They're not coming back for them. Go find yourself one. When they do redo it, they will not be using Sacagawea's name.
Right.
The weird thing is I found out about the book, but I couldn't find anybody to what's the problem here? It was almost like no one wanted to say, oh, they use a Native American name improperly or whatever. There, see, not that big a deal to us because we're dumb white men. But
X-Men Legends is getting a relaunch.
Yes, that would be my next one I would mention, just because. And again, I was kind of giving up on X-Men Legends. I think I might have dropped it already. But Roy Thomas is writing it. Roy Thomas, why don't they just say, Roy, we want you to do to the Marvel universe what you did for DC and All-Star Squadron, because I would buy that in a heartbeat. But he's going to do with X-Men Legends, which are all new tales set before Giant Size X-Men #1. And I went with the Dan Jurgens variant cover, by the way.
And I believe this is the first time he is writing a Wolverine solo story, even though he was the co-creator of the character. I think that's kind of cool. And I like the fact that they got Roy to do stuff. I think that is it for regular comics.
I think I'm with you on that, because everything else is just normal stuff I buy. So if
I
you
will-
got your book,
There is one. Marvel Voices #1 for May, because May is Asian American and Pacific Islander month. They're doing a special with Pacific Islander and Asian American creators. I like the Marvel Voices books. They are anthologies by a certain group of people. So, okay, this is a book about African American characters by African Americans. They did one that was Native American characters by Native American creators. This one's going to be Pacific Island characters by people of Pacific Island heritage. I like, well, you know me, I like any anthology.
yeah. And what I do with these is I usually will buy them full cost at any store that's smart enough to order them. Just in my way of supporting. Because usually when I travel around dropping off flyers and for like the MCBA show coming up or whatever, I like to buy some stuff. And if I can't find anything, I will buy one of the Marvel Voices.
Now we do recommend people picking up Marvel Tales. They're doing a Star Wars Tales, Joe.
Ooh.
He thrilled audiences in the Book of Boba Fett. Now experience the series that made him a legend, the stories that made him a legend, the deadly Wookiee bounty hunter, and it's so small I can't read it, but it's the Wookiee bounty hunter from Book of Boba Fett. They're reprinting his first storyline from Star Wars 1415, issue 20, and Star Wars Dr. Aphra Annual #1, 112 pages for $7.99. And now we get to where all my money is going to go.
I was good this month. There's a lot I want to talk about, but there's only one I bought. And of course, flip to page 80. You know where we like to start. The omnibus size.
The Miracle Man Omnibus. This reprints all of the Alan Moore stories and the stories that tie into it.
There's a couple gaps there, and I don't remember. Like they say, it goes issue 1, issue 3, and then 6 to 16. And it's been so long since I've dug out my clips, Miracle Man, I don't recall why those are skipped.
Because those are the only ones that have new material. You'll also see that it reprints the stuff from Warrior. 1, 3, and then 6 on were the ones that had new material.
So 2 and the other ones were reprints?
Yes. 1 had some stuff in it that was new. 3 had some stuff in it that was new. But basically, they were reprinting all the stuff from Warrior. So the stuff that doesn't have any new material isn't going to be in this. That's why. And yes, it's confusing.
It is.
But this is the entire Alan Moore thing with the tie-ins that were by other people from, I think it was called, Miracle Man Tales or...
Oh, there's Miracle Man Annual, Marvel Man Special. There's the Warrior stuff, 1 through 18.
And this is why I didn't pick up the reprints when Marvel did them. I knew they were going to collect it in a nice, big, thick volume, and here it is. If you've never read Miracle Man, this came out before Watchmen and it kind of kicked off the whole what if superheroes were in the real world. Miracle Man was Marvel Man was a character in England that reprinted the Captain Marvel stories. They changed them up a little bit. But when Fawcett threw in the towel, Marvel Man was still selling well, so they did new Marvel Man stories through the 50s in England. And Warrior was this magazine in England by Des Skin. It was, I'm going to do comics for adults. And he hired Alan Moore, and they all thought that Marvel Man had fallen out of copyright, so it's okay, redo Marvel Man. And Alan Moore, this was one of his first utter reinventions of a character. They later found out, oh wait, Marvel Man is still in copyright. Oh crap. And that was the first in a long series of legal stuff that has happened with the character over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
But this is a key story in comics history, one of the better stories you'll ever read. I will warn you, though, as it goes on, it gets very graphic. You get a birth on panel. Then the war between Marvel Man and Kid Marvel Man is really gory. Not for kids and not for the faint of heart.
So which cover will you get?
I will get the Alan Davis cover because I love Alan Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, normally I would get the cover that is the first issue of the comic. But man, Alan Davis's cover is just beautiful. The next page, continuing the reprints of Conan the Barbarian, the original Marvel Year Omnibus Volume 9. This is the first omnibus series that has gone this far. Reprints everything leading up to Roy Thomas coming back to the book, including a mini-series they used to try to Conan sales were slowly trending down, so they had somebody do a mini-series within a series, which were big in the 90s, of young Conan, basically telling the story of Conan's life before we knew about him. But yeah, I think there's only one more, either one or two more they need to do, and they'll have reprinted the entire Conan series, because the first Conan series, yeah, they only need one more, because it lasted until issue 275. On the next page is Savage Sword of Conan, which will go longer than Conan, even though it didn't have as many issues, because the magazine was much larger. And Savage Sword of Conan is one of those books you buy for the art. Oh, there's 3 omnibuses. I am not getting the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2.
Me neither.
But out of all the Ultimate series, Ultimate Spider-Man was by far the best. A retelling of Spider-Man in sort of a more modern setting without a lot of the continuity. Bendis and Mark Bagley, such a great team on this. When it was coming out, it came out like 18 times a year. I was so happy it was coming out so fast because it was so well done. If you've not read these stories, you need to pick these up. Such a fantastic book. I am getting, however, the Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1.
Me as well.
I will be getting the Sal Buscema cover because even though I like Dave Cockrum and that's the direct market cover, the Sal Buscema cover is the cover of the first issue, and it's Sal Buscema. We talked a lot about Spectacular Spider-Man last month, so you can go back and listen to that. It very quickly got handed off to Archie Goodwin, then Jim Shooter, and then there were fill-ins. So most of these stories were written by Bill Mantlo, but after the series was created, for like the first year, they were like, oh crap, anybody got a Spider-Man story? Anybody? Even Elliot S. Magan, who I think this was one of the very, very few things he ever did for Marvel. He was mostly a DC guy. On the next page, Captain Marvel by Kelly Sue DeConnick, who did a fantastic run on Captain Marvel. The person who kind of changed her from Ms. Marvel to Captain Marvel. So much of my money's going away.
Yeah.
Now, this is one I am on the fence about. Spider-Verse Spider-Geddon Omnibus. Now, I have the Spider-Verse hardcover. I love the Spider-Verse story. It is one of my favorite Spider-Man stories. This has that story and the sequel and all of the tie-ins.
Free Comic Book Day, Ghost Spider video comic, the Spider-Geddon Spider-Man video comic. I didn't even know there was a video comic. The Handbook, the Norg video comic. Now, I didn't buy this one. And when I always say I didn't buy it because, I probably should. I still have them, with the exception, of course, of Edge of Spider-Verse #2, because when that went ballistic, I ended up selling it for silly money. But I just got the facsimile edition. So I do have a little bit of time to decide, am I going to sell my originals off and get this, or just stick with my originals? The story's fine. I like Spider-Man.
You don't love it as much as I do.
I
love
don't.
This story.
I love Ghost Spider, or Spider-Gwen, or Gwen Spider. What was she called? I liked her. And the Spider-Man Noir was cool. I think Punk Spider I enjoyed, and anytime you see Spider-Man, but to me, Spider-Man was more fun when he was just a grounded Earth hero. And again, that boat sailed long ago. But it's hard when I guess this is why I don't dig Batman as much, because Batman, you're not alone. One button and you got the Justice League on your back. You could whisper for Clark. You got your own Bat Corps following. And Spider-Man was getting that way. Although with the current issues of Spider-Man, which we talked about, I think #1 last week or 2 weeks ago, look it up. It sounds like maybe they might be going back to that, where he's pissing everybody off enough where he's going to become a solo hero. He doesn't have Nick Fury there to help him. Mary Jane's not there to help him. So we'll see. So again, this is just old cranky Kray talking. And again, I got a few weeks to think about it. Because there's a one on page 89 I may want. Anyways, continue. More omnibuses.
The one on 89 is a reprint of a book that sold out so fast, Marvel didn't believe it had completely sold out.
I'm glad my kids are moving out, because I'm going to need room. I'm going to make an omnibus room.
The Dan Slott's She-Hulk Omnibus, another fantastic series. The thing I loved about this was Marvel did not know it had sold out. So they released a bunch to Amazon at a cheap price. Now, I already had one. But when I saw Amazon was selling them for $39.99, it's like, okay, I'm going to buy that and flip it. They held my order for a year before they finally said, yeah, it's not coming out.
Oh.
And the reason was Marvel was like, okay, here's the initial orders. Oh, crap. We got a lot of these left. Just get them to Amazon at a low price. We'll be able to dump them. But then comic shops, it had sold out, and comic shops kept ordering and ordering and ordering and ordering until Marvel finally went to Amazon and said, you need to cancel the orders. Why? We sold out. We didn't have to dump them.
No.
They had no faith in this book, I guess.
Wow.
Our masterworks for this month, because there are masterwork collectors, by the way, Joe.
Yeah.
I found out that there are people who live and die by the Marvel Masterworks, and that is all they buy. They continue the John Byrne stuff. We are now in the second half of Byrne's run on the Fantastic Four, with Fantastic Four 258 through 268, Fantastic Four Volume 24. That Predator Omnibus that you ordered a year ago is now finally being resolicited, so it looks like the rights all got cleaned up.
Yeah, this one looks good. I didn't order it, though, because I've ordered other omnibus.
I added up the omnibuses and went,
oh,
thank God the group home is always asking me for more shifts. And I actually let them know, okay, I can start doing sleeping overnights again.
I got on page...
Reign of X number 13.
Yeah, you're on page 108 as well. Reign of X, what do you got? Planet Size X-Men 1, X-Corps 2, New Mutants 19. I hope they keep doing this.
Well, they did it. They shipped Chris Claremont an entire run of them. So
well,
if Chris Claremont likes them.
Underneath it is the Marvel trade paperback, which I really want to read it because it's written by Alex Ross. Unforgettable stories, lots of talent in it, a who's who. And I ignored the comics, but this is a great way to buy it. Across from it, Cory,
By the way, I want to point out that Marvel trade paperback is an anthology.
Yeah.
And in the final issue 6, has a story drawn by Hilary Barta, which has all of the Marvel monsters you remember. He worked them all in. And he was very proud of it, to the point where when I read it, I went, all right, I found Goom, but I'm not finding Googam. And he said, Googam is in the back in this panel right here. Ah!
Oh, I love it. That's
and
brilliant.
He was shocked that I knew all of them. He was like, I was just doing that for me. But you know this stuff? Are you kidding? I have the omnibus sitting. I have the 2 volumes of the omnibus sitting here. And when you said you'd worked them all in, by God, I'm going to check you.
Now, across from it is Thor: The Saga of Gore, the God Butcher. Is this the beginning of Jason Aaron's run, or is this something? Okay, so I have it already in the Aaron Complete, because I had that on my list, and then I was like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. So it's been a while. I got volume 4. I haven't read it. I'm assuming the omnibus is due any minute now, just because
it is.
All the paperbacks have been published. So that's it for me, Marvel-wise. Anything else?
I like to point out the Epic collections. We've got a reprint of the first Excalibur Epic collection, which, if you pick up the 12th issue of X-Men Legends, is a story Chris Claremont wrote to be a prelude to this. We get a new Wolverine Epic collection, which is Wolverine versus Venom. Tooth and Claw reprints Wolverine 101 through 109 with all the tie-ins that were coming out in the 90s. And Joe, I want you to look at that cover.
Oh, what page are we on here?
111.
111. Let me flop back a few. Oops. Sorry, I got caught on Amazing Spider-Man Epic.
That drawing of Wolverine may be one of the worst pieces of art I've ever seen from Marvel Comics.
No insult to Joe St. Pierre, but ugh.
If you get a chance, look at that. That is the worst composed body figure drawing I've ever seen.
Hurts enough, and I gotta sit for 8 hours on a plane. I don't need to be. Ugh.
Our Spider-Man Epic collection is Volume 8, Man-Wolf at Midnight. This was the Gary Conway stories right after Gwen Stacy had been killed, but right before. Stan said, "You got to bring her back."
Ugh. This has always been a black hole for me, because I read my old partner Pat's collection, and he had up to Gwen Stacy dying, and then I collected backwards to about 150. And that was it Spider-Man Mobile, or was that 149? Either way,
150 was the end of the clone story, where Spider-Man did the test, got the test results, and went, "I don't need to look at these. When I was about to die, I thought of Mary Jane, not Gwen, so I can't be the clone."
See, I don't recall that. I do recall the first one I bought was the Spider-Man Mobile, and then the next issue had the 2 X-Men in it, which was my first.
Oh, that was 160 and 161.
Okay, so I'm 10 issues ahead, because that was my first exposure to new X-Men. And while I knew who Cyclops was, I didn't know who these other 3 people were: Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Colossus. But I found out pretty fast.
The Captain America Epic Collection, Volume 11, Sturm und Drang. This was the end of J.M.D. Matthias's run, and I want to point something out here. This is another time where Jim Shooter basically put a bullet in the head of a story that they were doing, and that he had approved. If you were reading Captain America at the time, there was a Native American character who showed up and had become quite important in the series. And Captain America was losing his powers. The story J.M.D. Matthias was doing was one where in issue 300, Steve Rogers would have lost all his powers, and this Native American character would take over as Captain America. Remember, this is at the time when heroes were being replaced. Thor had been replaced by Beta Ray Bill. Tony Stark had been replaced by James Rhodes, etc., etc., etc. They were going to do it with Captain America, even though they did do it a few years later with U.S. Agent. But it had been approved all the way up to when issue 300 was being drawn. Now, Joe, if you remember Captain America issue 300, it was a regular-sized comic.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, which I thought was weird. It was just like
all the others were double-sized. The reason for that was they had the double-sized story of this Native American character taking over as Captain America. Shooter said no. And D. Matthias, who had written the story, was told to write a different story. And he went, no. This was approved. It's signed off on. You agreed to it. And Shooter said, well, I've changed my mind. No. So that's why you see with that issue, somebody else took over the writing. It's single size. It ends up being just Captain America versus the Red Skull and the Native American character that had been created to be the new Captain America, never seen again.
Good going, Shooter.
And he approved the changes in all the other books,
I wonder if he
knowing that they would eventually come back.
Sorry.
So yeah. All right, and finally, our Marty Marvel Masterwork, which reprints the Masterworks in a smaller size. I've seen them on the shelf at Target. They're really cool. This is Spider-Man Volume 3. And that is it for Marvel. Oh,
Cool.
I'm so broke.
I know. But we still have the rest of the books. Shall I begin?
Well, the spotlight they have for this month is on female creators because it is Women's History Month. So if you go to page 228, 229, they highlight some women in comics. The ones that I want to point out are Lumberjanes, which is such a fun book.
I got to get reading.
Womanthology, they show heroic. There were, I think, 3 Womanthology books, which were anthology books by all female creators. Big, thick, honking books. Let's see, $50, written and illustrated by over 140 women.
Ooh.
And then they have the Fantagraphics book, My Favorite Thing is Monsters, by Emil Ferris. I like that book too.
Let's see.
So those are the ones they're pointing out.
I've got The Unsacred, which I read. And
yeah, you were a big fan of that.
Oh, I love it. And she was doing a book for Image as well. Just finishing up. Same type of art. Of course, there's Brenda Starr, reporter, collected daily strips, because I actually met Dale Missick, so I can at least post that on my who I met. Hang on a second, let me call up my comic order list. It's Marika Andolfo's Sweet Paprika. Issue 11 is being solicited this month. It's a 12-issue series, and I will wait until I get all 12 together. And of course, there'll be a good graphic novel coming up with it. So, going from a Blaze to Image, step up, step down, who knows? All right, you start off this time. I always start off with the other guys. I'll let you start off.
Let's see here.
Although, should I give you my beef about this month?
Well, why don't I point out the first book here? Joe,
All
please turn to page 236.
Oh, I would have thought you would have mentioned that Belay and Valerie Swords versus Sorcery. But 236. All right.
Cerebus in Hell presents Alien Life. They do a parody of the infamous Alf cover where Alf, it's the seal has been broken. No, sealed for your protection. And it's hurry up and take the picture. I can't hold him. And it looks like that Alf is doing getting to know the seal.
Unspeakable things to wildlife.
Getting to know the seal in a biblical sense.
Getting busy.
So they do the same cover with Cerebus and his seal. And it's funny because people who did not know the Alf cover were like, what the hell is this?
Oh, that means we're
people
old,
who
Cory.
knew the Alf cover were like, oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, I thought people who knew the Alf cover go, what the hell is this? All right. Well, so as long as you're there, pop back to page 234. This is one of those, I'm pointing it out because I'm not buying it, but if you are a Jimi Hendrix fan, here's Hendrix, Electric Requiem. It explores the life, career, and music of the true rock and roll god, Grammy Award-winning musician Jimi Hendrix, who Rolling Stone ranked #1 on their greatest guitarist of all time, and who got vehemently booed for opening for the Monkees. But if you're, and the other thing that's cool about Ablaze is they got one of those, what do they call them, QVC codes? Is that what or QRC? I don't know what they are.
QR. It's a
QR. Thank you. If you want to preview it and see if it's your cup of tea, go for it. But again, I like to point these out because, again, you may be a Jimi Hendrix fan. You may know someone who's a real Jimi Hendrix fan. Like, I might be buying this for my sister's birthday because she really likes Jimi Hendrix. And over Christmas, I gave her one of those Mego Jimi Hendrix dolls. I found one that was actually open. And I figured, well, she's going to open it anyway. So I got mine that's unopened, of course.
The first book that I have, other than the Cerebus book, page 254, under Albatross Publishing.
Albatross!
The Eric Powell's publishing company, the Albatross Exploding Funny Books.
Albatross!
A new quarterly comic magazine that will have anthology stories.
Oh, you said the magic word.
I said the magic word anthology, and it's Eric Powell's The Goon, La Diabla, Hillbilly, Lester of the Lesser Gods. This is just going to be fun, goofy, big guys beating up monsters comics. I love it. I absolutely love it. Nothing about it is serious. The art is really good. It's just a fun book. And I wish we had more fun, just goofy comics.
Let's see.
Well, Joe's looking. I will also point out on page 267, there's another of the big, thick Archie books, the Archie Giant Comic Spectacular. It's about a 500-page book for $10, featuring Archie stories in kind of the digest size, but because it's 500 pages, it's just a big old chunk. I love those books, especially now that the digests. I mean, the digests are only 192 pages, and they're selling those for $9 because they're still on newsstands, so they're returnable. These are just direct sales only or in bookstores, so you get about 3 times as much for $1 more.
You're not going to pick up the Archie meets Riverdale?
I don't watch Riverdale.
I don't either, but I like a good crossover. I think I'll probably go for the Ben Cadwell cover, just because I kind of looks neat. We're going to pop way back to page 235. A couple books more from Ablaze. Up top is Gilliam March, Laura, and Other Stories. I've got this in regular comic form. I pointed it out when it first came out. Here's your hardcover. Underneath it's one that kind of caught my attention. And this is for matures, 16 and up. I cannot pronounce that. Bastien Vives, The Blouse. A student of classical literature at Sorbonne, Séverine is neither beautiful, not ugly, not brilliant, nor mediocre. Young woman lives a banal existence without brilliance, but without drama, alongside a companion who pays less attention than a television series or video game to her. After babysitting, she is given a silk blouse that will mysteriously change her life. From that day forward, men give her a different look, loaded with desire. Does the garment have a magical power? She doesn't know. She finds it gives her confidence, though, allows her to take destiny in her own hands. Let's see, a new female portrait, completely adult and contemporary in The Blouse. So that caught my attention.
If you go to page 301 from Clover Press, yes, the same people who started a Great Gatsby comic the same month that the Great Gatsby went into public domain, they have the Continental Op, which was a character created by Dashiell Hammett, the master of the detective story. These are adapted by John K. Snyder III, who's an artist who worked in comics. In the 80s, he did work with Grendel, to the point where the one Grendel page I have is by him. He also did a comic that I love that I cannot believe ever got printed, Fashion in Action. But he's doing an adaptation of Dashiell Hammett stuff. I love Dashiell Hammett. I love John K. Snyder. This is a really nice looking book that will adapt the first 5 Continental Op stories. Dashiell would later pattern his best-known character, Sam Spade, after the Continental Op. Joe, where would people know Sam Spade from?
I don't know. Jeez. All I want to know is where I'm going tomorrow. I think to Casablanca.
No.
I found his Maltese Falcon at the...
There you go.
Maltese Falcon. I was going the Bogart route, but yeah, Sam was definitely a Bogart guy.
So, and that's the one where they had to call, the people making the movie had to call Dashiell Hammett to say, hey, who killed this character? Hamnet thought for a minute, said, I don't know. So when you watch the movie, there's a character killed. They're trying to figure out who it is. Not the main mystery, but one of the side mysteries. And they never answer it because Hamnet said, yeah, I never answered that. Never, nobody ever asked. Joe?
Back on page 262, Unprepped. It's a 5-issue miniseries from Chuck Dixon, Scott Beatty, art by Marlon Shoup. You may think you're ready for the apocalypse, but even after lockdown, plagues, town crazy natural disasters, and the ever-present threat of rogue nations going nuclear, the average Joe, that's me, just isn't prepared for a total global disaster. Witness mankind's transition from the digital age to the Stone Age in a blink of an eye, and the only light comes from an angry sun setting on 2 families struggling to survive. So this one actually was doing an Antarctic Press. So that one caught my eye, and I guess it's 5 issues. Sounds pretty fun.
Now, remember last week, Joe, when we talked about grading comics?
I did.
They have put out an updated version of the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. This is the 6th edition.
Ooh.
And I only have the 1st edition. I may actually pick this up now that we've talked about it, because I have the original and they've updated it 6 times since then. But that actually jumped out at me because it was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Also want to say that you haven't got your Lost Universe book yet. When you do, we're going to be going over the Lost Universes. But in that Lost Universe book, they announced that they are doing a 2nd volume next year.
Ooh.
So we'll get to do it again next year. Ooh.
Back on page 292, Train 8 Zombie Express. I like trains. I'm less thrilled with zombies. But this one caught my attention. 2 college girls traveling the famous Train 8 from Seattle to Chicago find themselves at the center of an experimental GMO virus outbreak that causes passengers to turn into bloodthirsty primordials. The surviving girls and a handful of passengers are faced with the moral dilemma of stopping the train to save themselves and let the deadly virus out on the world, or keep the train running, buying more time until help comes, but only if they can survive the killing horde of the infected. This actually sounds like a movie, but I like trains. I'll give it a shot.
If you go to page 354, they have the...
Oh, yes, that's what we talked about earlier.
Yep, they have Death Dealer #1. They also, if you are a fan of the band Disturbed, they have a comic from Tim Seeley, who has done tons and tons and tons of books, but the one that I like of his the best is Hack Slash, which is kind of one of the first reinventions of the whole last girl horror trope. She was the last girl, and she goes around killing movie type killers. But also on that page, the 7th volume of Asterisk, which I will order, even though they will cancel it and resolicit it a month later.
Oh.
Asterisk is the best-selling comic in the world. It is a European comic set in the Roman Empire. Asterisk and his friend Obelisk. It's in a lot of ways, it reminds me of Gru, in that it's kind of sort of fantasy, and they're just traveling and meeting interesting people along the way. Each book is self-contained, beautifully drawn, lots of humor, lots of adventure. There's a reason why it and Tintin are the 2 best-selling comics in the world.
Cory, I'll have you go back to page 322 momentarily. While you're doing it, they're getting ready to advertise the 52nd edition of the comic book price guide. I think I bought
that'll
one.
be next month.
Yeah, I bought last year, so I'm not going to buy this year.
So 322.
Yep.
Oh, you want me to buy an ad in Overstreet?
Well, we could maybe for this here podcast, not only immortalizing us, even though we don't have a Wikipedia page, and maybe catching on a few other people. So just something to think about. We could do that, or we could make our own unique comic book.
I already have the plan. Skate
All
Man
right.
#2.
I love it when a plan comes together.
If you go to page 358, it's a book.
Knockoffs?
Yes.
Yes, I have it on my list as well.
Totally unauthorized action figures is a celebration of the bootleg figure, the copyright infringing silliness meant to fool our grandparents, meant to fool our grand people. Subjects range from toys of the 60s to the 2000s. I remember these type of toys would show up at Ben Franklin. And it was oh look, it's Spidery Man. No, don't get that. Do not get that. Please don't get that. Please don't get that. Please, please, please don't get that. But I want to read about it because it's one of those worlds that I know so little about. How they got these made, how they got them into stores, and how they didn't get their pants sued off them.
My guess is this shit just came in overseas, secondary dealers, and in order to be sued, someone's got to bring it to Marvel or DC's attention. And by the time they do, and by the time they get to the store, they'll, oh yeah, sold out. So yeah, but still, some of these knockoffs are just crazy. Speaking of one that isn't a knockoff, I'm pointing this out, and I suppose this is a quick for Brian, because it is a toy, but it's not in the toy section. If you go back to page 337.
How dare they?
I know that I point this out because this is the type of stuff that I would buy for my shops. A Captain Canuck X Odin toy action figure. Just done like the Mego type figures. Because it's not in the toys, people may overlook it. But if you're a Captain Canuck fan, a little pricey, but there's probably not going to be a hell of a lot of these things. I'm almost tempted to just buy one or two and just toss them on eBay just to see what they might go for if anybody cares.
If you go to page 363, we've got this is the Rebellion 2000 AD section. They are resoliciting the art of Carlos Esquerra. He is the creator of Judge Dredd, drew tons and tons of stuff for 2000 AD over the years. If you have read 2000 AD, you've read his work on Judge Dredd or Strontium Dog. This is an excellent book highlighting his art and telling the story of his life. He passed away a couple of years ago. Another one of these artists who what DC did in the mid to late 80s, they just went over to England and pulled all the best creators out of 2000 AD to create Vertigo. But Carlos stayed at 2000 AD his entire career. So, wanted to point that out.
On page 368, wow, I'm ahead of you all of a sudden. Mr. Boop Deluxe hardcover from Silver Sprocket. Arthur Alex Robbins is deeply in love with his wife. 1930s cartoon superstar Betty Boop. It's the perfect marriage, and nothing will ever come between them. Not other famous cartoon characters, not intellectual property law, and certainly not Alex's own towering insecurities. This was a viral webcomic collected in a deluxe hardcover. And I just thought the concept was really cool and worth picking up.
Page 392. Yes, it's tomorrow's. They've got another book. And as I said, I think I finally said this about 2 or 3 years ago. I've given up on waiting to see if the books are good because they're always good. This one is the Team Up Companion. Yes. Team Up Companion examines the Team Up books of the Silver and Bronze Age, such as Brave and the Bold, DC Comics Presents, Marvel Team Up, Marvel 2-in-1. I still do not understand how they got Marvel 2-in-1 as a title without anybody going, wait a minute, that's dirty. It goes into the other Team Up titles, treasuries, with special features, trivia loaded issue by issue indexes. Joe, what was the first Team Up comic that featured a regular hero and then a different hero every month?
All-Star. Wasn't it DC's All-Star?
Nope, that was the Justice Society.
Oh. And I'm not sure.
Now, the first Team Up book was World's Finest, which was Batman and Superman every month. But after the Batman TV show went away and Batman sales dropped, they turned it into a Superman team-up book for a while. And then went back to Batman Superman. And that is considered the first of the rotating character team-up books, which I didn't even know until somebody was showing these covers. It's like, I've never seen that. And it was short-lived. And after they did it, I was surprised it took them so long to then get DC Comics Presents, which was Superman teaming up with someone. Brave and the Bold did it soon after, and it lasted longer in that because it was a bi-monthly book, so it lasted from the early 70s until the early 80s when it was what? Here you go. Does Joe know? What is the comic that Brave and the Bold was canceled to make way for?
Outsiders.
Batman and the Outsiders.
Oh, Batman and the Outsiders. Yep. Because later when they dumped Batman, it became
the Outsiders.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it was when they did that hardcover, softcover thing, and they had Batman and the Outsiders, and then Outsiders, and you had to wait a year to find out why Batman had left.
Yep. Same thing in New Titans. Same thing in Dracula, or not Dracula. Legion of Superheroes.
Yep, Legion of Superheroes. What's next, Joe?
Page 372, Ultramax #1 from Source Point Press. A journeyman henchman has pulled off the impossible. He has killed the world's most famous superhero. In order to get a reduced jail time, the henchman has cut a deal with the feds. Problem is, even without having any powers, the feds are sending him to the Ultramax facility with the worst supervillains. Now the unlucky nobody must navigate prison life while praying no one finds out he's a snitch. And I'm not buying it, but under the category of that is a damn fine looking cover, across from it on page 373, Rise of Dracula 6, cover B. That's a damn fine looking cover.
My last comic I am pointing out is on page 408.
Oh, is it the Frazetta book cover?
Yes, I am not big on...
Man, we are in synchronicity today.
I'm not big on art books, but this is a book that reprints Frazetta's book cover art, which has all of the covers he painted for paperback books. In the 60s and 70s, there was a huge market for artists to do fantasy and science fiction covers. When I interviewed Greg Thiessen years and years ago, he talked about how he wanted to break into comics, but he found that painting covers for paperback books was more lucrative, so he did more of that. There were a number of artists who did that on the side. And Frazetta was the most in demand because if you had a Frazetta cover on something, it would sell more. The only other person who was in that big a demand was Neil Adams, who, because he had advertising work, would not do as many, but they say that his covers on the Tarzan books were the best-selling Tarzan novels.
You know, and I'll tell you, my dad had a lot of different books, and the ones that always caught my eye were the Frazetta covers. And this is back when I was a kid. I mean, like pre-comic, before I was 12. Not even know. I mean, I would look at the book and like, but the cover looks so damn cool.
He sort of, in a lot of ways, he sort of created the idea in people's head of what sword and sorcery characters looked like. His Conan covers to this day are still held up as some of the best covers ever. And again, I would say that his covers sold Conan novels because before it was, oh, okay, yeah, there's a Conan book, but nobody cared. But then when they printed them as a series of paperbacks with Frank Frazetta covers, they became huge sellers. And you could also tell that his covers sold books because even when they would reprint the books later, they would still have the Frazetta covers rather than changing the covers. And usually when they would reprint a book, you know, you look at the Tolkien books. I have the mid-70s covers, which were basically just paintings of buildings. But they've gone through so many different covers. The Conan books, until they went out of print in the 80s, always had the Frazetta covers. And that's it for me for comics.
The last one I got's on page 392, Museum of Mistakes, The Definite Fart Party Collection by Julia Wirtz. For almost 2 decades.
Surprised me.
Yeah. She's been documenting life's most intimate, absurd, and amusing moments through a whimsical and hilarious diary comic book called The Fart Party. And I'm pretty damn sure I've talked about this book before because it's ringing a bell. Not this book in question, but The Fart Party. She retells her childhood antics that ends in scars and swears. She tracks in real time her young adulthood as she forgets her college graduation, travels cross country via train, drank her way through a harsh breakup. This thing's long out of print. Apparently, it's anything and everything that is The Fart Party, plus early comic work of hers, unpublished previous uncollected comics, short stories, things like that. So it's under Uncivilized Books. That's it for me. The only thing that really caught my eye this month, Diamond's really pushing a lot of non-graphic novel-ish, non-comic type stuff. Way too many books that anybody could ever want to buy. And it's almost drowning out the comics. I mean, I understand they got to do it to survive. And again, there may be stuff that, we didn't even look at. I mean, Boundless is discounting a bunch of hardcover Lady Death, including some signed stuff.
Again, still,
I didn't see
always.
Avatar. I didn't see if
they're in there.
Yeah, they're doing a bunch of crossed as well as some other things. Again, you want the No Hero book by Warren Ellis, which is signed. It's right there. But it just struck me that just so much of this is books. And while I'm willing to drop like $3.99, $5.99 on a comic unseen, it's really, really harsh trying to figure out what books to buy. And I do read through most of it to try to catch my attention. But unless it's something like, again, the Frazetta book cover art, is this really not a lot going on? I mean, I didn't see anything in manga section. The question I have, Cory, are you going for the Previews Edition Deluxe hardcover Frazetta book for $69.95 with 16-page portfolio, or just stick with the regular hardcover for $39.95?
Because of all those damn Marvel omnibuses, I'm getting the $39.99.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, and now, because he asked for it, flip your book over.
Brian's song. Wait a
minute. Well, what do we call this? For Brian. I only got 2 things this month, which again, it's really weird. Usually I can find about half a dozen.
I am tempted to get both of the things that I am pointing out, by the way.
Well, the first one I looked at on page 65, there's a thing called Tom and Jerry Ultra Detailed Figure Series. And the only one that caught my attention was these are basically Tom and Jerry in the different weird formats they appeared in throughout the various cartoons. The one that I liked was Tom Runaway to a Glass Cup, where you look at it and it's basically Tom fell into a cup and his feet are sticking out. That would be so great to just like have on your glass covered case or something, just for someone to come walking by and go, what? But they're pretty cool. Some of the Jerry sausage looks pretty funny. If I can order these separate, that would be the one I would definitely go for.
If you go to the page across from that, page 64.
Oh.
Judge Dredd, the Judge Fear 1/8 scale exquisite miniature action figure for only $20. I love the 4 judges of the apocalypse story with Judge Death, Judge Pestilence, Judge Fear. One of my favorite Judge Dredd stories. And I imagine pretty much everyone has seen the iconic panel, gaze into the eyes of death, gaze into the fist of dread. Boom!
Yes.
But also, and this is the one I'm really, really tempted to pick up, although not through Diamond because it'll be cheaper elsewhere, is on page 70. Yes, the Pac-Man figure. I am a huge fan of vintage video games every video game system I've had, I've been able to get Pac-Man and Space Invaders, and I will even buy the updated versions. Although, man, there was one updated version of Space Invaders that I played, and I'm just playing it, and this is goddamn awful. But it's Space Invaders. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Matter of fact, my favorite game on my Dreamcast, other than Skies of Arcadia, which is probably my favorite RPG that's not Final Fantasy, was the Ms. Pac-Man game, which was kind of you would do an adventure and then do a maze, and then do an adventure with puzzles and then do a maze. And on and on and on and on. I remember I played that thing forever. I never got to the end of it. But I loved that game. Absolutely loved that game. So having a Pac-Man on my desk would be nice.
I have been threatened. If I buy this, I may not be allowed in the house anymore. Flip over to page 73. I don't know, man. There's a lot of omnibuses. I can slip omnibuses in the house pretty easy, but if I tried to pick up the Marvel Spider-Man logo toaster, especially when she found out it was $79.99. I mean, it's the ultimate.
No. Joe.
Oh,
it's $69.99.
Whoa! I better get two then.
Yeah, now you can buy it. You say, hey, I got it cheaper.
I mean, look at it. Simply insert the bread, press the lever, and when your toast pops up, Spidey logo on the toast. Like it on the dark side? Use the handy dial to adjust browning. What will they think of? What an age we live in. 2 wide slots to accommodate bagels, a Spidey bagel, a Spidey English muffin, Spidey thick breads. Oh man, Spidey Eggos. I can put my Spidey Eggos in my Spider-Man logo toaster. Oh man. Oh, my heart just beats hard. That's it for me. Whew.
You know who could protect all of this shopping you're doing on the internet for all of the things we've talked about?
Oh, we're going to need it. Who?
Our sponsor right here. Our newest sponsor is NordVPN. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. NordVPN gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files that backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And if, let's see, how long have we gone already?
We've got a while.
If the 4 hours and 15 minutes of podcasting we've done isn't enough for you, I do all of these. The Solitaire Rose Podcast Network is filled with all kinds of audio goodness. First, there's Crazy Comics and Stories. It's been going since 2010. It drops every Monday, and it has me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard, and Joe Crazy Writer talking comics, shenanigans, and whatever we're freaking and geeking about. Every Monday morning. It's been going since 2010, and it's available at crazycomics.solitairerose.com. Also on that same feed is the Solitaire Rose Podcast, which is me, again, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard, doing interviews, talking about comics history, pretty much talking about whatever I want to talk about. We've also got Solo Joe, where Joe Crazy Writer does a solo podcast. and he hasn't done one in a while, so kick him in the shins to get him started. We also, on that same feed, have Solitaire Rose Series and Review, where we do DVD commentary of older comic book series. That's all at crazycomics.solitairerose.com. I also do a podcast with Wolfie B. Bad at badadvice.solitairerose.com, where we take listener questions and give them bad advice. There's also Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's at novels.solitairerose.com. There's also Fantastic Forecast, where myself and Adam Vermillion are going through the entire run of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time. That's fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com. There are always more podcasts at the Solitaire Rose Podcast Network. Be there. Aloha. And now we get to a part of the show where Joe will tell you not to order anything from his eBays. Joe.
Wrong, oh goody two-shoes, friend of mine. My eBay store is up and running while I'm in Florida. There will be a notice saying I'm not returning to the 24th, because that's the first possible time I can actually, 23rd, I'll be able to respond to emails or ship things out. But if you see anything you want, you can certainly go for it. The only caveat is I cannot probably do like I did for everybody who was wise enough to jump on board and pick up things when I made that half price offer. Although, I like to be the cheapest guy on eBay, so you can always check it out. But it's on 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I don't have anybody do the wording. Anyways, crazy, Krayz, come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I use the previews to stun a charging animal.
That's what omnibuses are for.
No, it's Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
I gave up my JLA Avengers paperback. I had one confirmed.
Oh,
it was through our buddy up at Granite City.
Oh, okay.
Because he said he had 3 coming in, but he asked me, do you really want it? And I'm like, yeah, but why? Do you have someone else for it? He goes, yeah, I have 4 people that want it. And I said, well, let's ask you this. Is number 4 a good customer? He goes, yeah, one of our better ones. So I'm like, okay, I have it in the Absolute Edition. I had the signed Absolute Edition at one time. And the only thing that is in the new edition that's not in the old one will be a Afterword by Kurt Busiek. And he's actually trying to see if he can get DC to allow him to publish it online, because he's like, well, I wrote it for them and technically they own it, so they have to give me the yes. If so, I'll print it out, put it in my book. I'm happy with that. But I figured, you know what? This is one of those books, spread the wealth. I mean, you could probably find, even issues of the regular series are going up. But I'm hoping somebody somewhere, and it probably ain't going to happen, that because DC has the rights to republish this, that they will go and they'll say, hey, let's make a 3rd printing of this bad boy. Probably won't happen, but whatever.
We can hope.
I overheard, this is one of those things, I'm not going to say where I overheard it, but I heard one owner talking to his employees that they're changing from Penguin to Diamond because they are tired of dealing with Penguin's bullshit. And apparently they're just not happy because, and again, by this time it was apparent I was listening and I just kind of walked away. But, us comic book collectors are a very particular lot. We like our books in mint or near mint shape. And apparently book publishers don't give a crap because if it's ding, they can return it. The difference being is if a comic book's ding, they generally can't return it. And if they are ding, they usually don't get replacements, blah, blah, blah. So I just thought that was interesting. I'll snoop around, see if anybody else is doing that. As long as we're talking that I am in Florida, or I'm sorry, I'd like to go to Florida, but I'm going to Hawaii instead. Woo-hoo. I did find a couple interesting things as I was getting ready to go. And as you listen to this, I'm already there. I don't know what you do with your pocket change, Cory. I've got my big Miller Lite bottle that I got from Mardi Gras a number of years ago that I drank all the beer out of, and I bought it specifically because I throw my change in it because it's a big ass bank after being filled with beer. So I took that to the one of the banks that I go to, and they pulled out their coin collector. Because you put it in, it jingles around, then you take the receipt and they give you it or dump it into your account. I thought that was really, really stupid. Okay, I'm gonna name the bank. It's Huntington Bank, because our local hometown Twin City Federal TCF Bank got bought out by Huntington Bank, which I believe headquartered in Ohio. And I've heard of a lot of people changing their bank accounts. Chris and I are not, at least not yet, because we're pretty happy with them. But the indoors, they took away all the wood paneling. It's all white with little white blotches and little blotches of green. Very sterile, very uninviting look. Bank tellers, they were very pleasant, very professional, very helpful. But the no change counter thing really freaked me out. And to me, you listen to these bobos, oh my God, there's a national change crisis. Well, you just took away the number one way I have to turn in change. Oh, we'll accept it in rolls. If I wanted to roll it, I wouldn't have thrown it in a fucking bottle of beer. So that was weird.
Can I point out something?
Always.
The banks have been getting rid of those change counting machines over the last few years, and anybody who talks about the change shortage, you could actually point to those machines going away as when it started.
Yeah,
and
it's just crazy.
And I remember at first it was any bank would have them, and then it would be, oh, you have to have an account to use them. Then they got rid of them altogether. Now they do have the Coinstar machines, but they take a profit for counting your coins, unless you get like a gift certificate or a gift card or the like. So what I do, I have a thing on the shelving by my door, and when I come in, I just drop it in there. And I hadn't even thought about it for like 2 or 3 years the last time I did it, and I went, it's like, oh wow, this thing's full, I better take it over. And I had over $200 in coins. And it's okay, I can either get $170 in cash or $200 and some in an Amazon gift card. That's not a question at all. But the fact that, hey, we will count your money, but because this machine, everybody needs to make a profit. But then banks are like, oh, we don't have enough change, so we can't sell change to stores. And stores are like, we don't have enough change. You know why? Because everybody's got their change in jars like this. My parents had an old ice cream churn, and they didn't make ice cream anymore, so they would just put change in that. And I remember that thing got full. I don't even remember how much money was in that, but it had to be, if my little yogurt thing came to around $200, it had to be $400, $500, $600.
Yeah. We don't need the money we just, we save the money to go on trips, do something special. My daughter gave me a bag of change. Here, cash this in. We save the change. Occasionally we'll play cards with friends and things like that. But it just seems so unnecessary. It's like, really, you're taking the one service away. Speaking of weird, something I found out a while ago, like we're going to Hawaii. And credit card companies are really tired of fraud. So suddenly I go from, hey, I'm in Minnesota. Oh my gosh, there's a charge in Hawaii. We better put a stop to it. So I called all my credit cards and just gave them a travel alert to him. I'll be in Hawaii from this day to that day. I want you to know that so that you don't think it's fraud. It's me. And you verify your identity through various things. And for the most part, I got in there. But I had the stereotypical, I called one and I could not make heads or tails out of the Indian, not Native American Indian, as in the country Indian call center guy. I tried to, and finally he just, and I'm on hold, and then I got to another person with a slighter Indian accent who took care of it for me. And again, I tried to work through it. And if I couldn't understand something, I'm sorry, I cannot understand you. This person just gave up. And of course, at the end, they give you would you stay on the line for a survey? I gave him high marks because somewhere in their system it said, oh, he went from A to B. It's not his fault. He's working his job and he's got a dumb American that can't understand his accent. It was just, I mean, it was almost comical because this was so stereotypical. The other ones went to what I would call normal Midwestern accents that I heard. And usually when there's time, I like to talk like, where are you actually located? But I didn't do that because I wanted to get all my credit cards lined up. The other thing I'm freaking on is my box day shows up on Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah, if it is, and I've got the signed copy of The Lost Universe, and that would have been the book I would have brought with me. Instead, I'm either going to bring a book called Robin, which is an autobiography. Well, not autobiography, but it's a book somebody wrote about Robin Williams. And it has a lot of interviews and things like that. So it reads pretty well. And then, or I'll bring the Paper Girls one, the omnibus one. I've got, once we're off the air here, I've got to get upstairs. We've got everything packed. I'm not too worried because we're going to Honolulu. It's a freaking modern city. If I forget something, I can go to Walmart. They got Walmarts there. It's not that big. It's not like I'm going to anywhere on the island. It's civilized. There are some other ones that are more laid back. They don't have interwebs. They don't have services. I really want to go see those. I also want to go to the Big Island. We're staying on Oahu for the most part. We're not going to the Big Island where the volcanoes are. So, and we're not going to Maui. I've never been there. There are 4 comic stores there. Oh, wait a minute. That's geeking. Sorry. The other thing that's a little freaky is I've got some original art coming from me that I bought from someone. My daughter, my daughter's boyfriend, they'll be moving out this week to their own place finally. I mean, they moved in before COVID because they were in a bad situation with rent. They had like 4 couples in a building. Everybody took off, and then they were like stuck. And I said, don't sign anything. You can move in with us. Then COVID hit. But they're ready to move out. I'm ready for them to move out. The last time they moved out, my wife and I were like, oh, we got the kids are gone. We got empty nest syndrome. And then all of a sudden, bing, hey, the kids are gone. And then we decided, yeah, we're going to stay in this place. So we got to get them out, help them out.
Get out!
Get out! Change the locks. You're not coming back. But we may end up into the newer. We're getting older. My arthritis isn't getting better. Thinking about moving into a new place. So that may be the new segment of our show. But all I can tell you is, Cory, you got a fill-in episode. Any idea what the fill-in episode's got?
Oh, I've got all kinds of fill-in episodes. And remember, we also have the April Fool's Day episode coming up, too. So there's all kinds of fun stuff going on.
So I can tell you, though, the podcast for the last week, right before April Fool's Day, will be pretty much me blabbing on about Hawaii. So you can freak or geek on that. I don't care because I'll be in Hawaii when you're listening to this. As you're listening to this, I am going to bring my headphones, though, but I'll talk about that when we get to geeking. Cory, what are you freaking on?
Nothing.
Oh,
I have the upcoming weekend off. My office job has finally slowed down to the point where I am caught up on things and doing the reports like I'm supposed to. I am actually caught up on this year's reports and will now be working on last year's reports that nobody had a chance to get to because of we're short-handed. And comic-wise, I've had a lot of fun reading comics. I've had time to kind of relax in the house because
wait, are you freaking or geeking?
I'm talking about why I have no freakings.
Oh, which is kind of a geek. Go on. This is refreshing.
But the group home shifts there have been very quiet. I have a coworker on my evening shifts, but I don't think they're going to be there very long because they spend the entire shift on the couch in another room talking on their phone. Now, they were supposed to be brought in as a team lead, but they've said that they've stepped down from being a team lead. And I think they'll be stepping down from working there because I no lie, it's the same as working by myself. Because she goes into the room, she turns out the light, we hear her on her phone, and just ignore her. And when I'm asked what she does, I go, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? She's on the phone talking in a language I don't know. Did I throw her under the bus? Nope. Did I tell the truth about somebody who's only been at the company for 2 weeks? Oh, hell yeah. Now, here's the thing. Hanging at the home. This is a new hanging at the home. When I go to the group home, there are times when, yeah, I'll be mixing the podcast, or I'll be watching a movie, or I'll be doing this. But you know where I do it? With the clients. There's a reason for that, because during the downtime, during the quiet time, during the relaxation time where they're watching TV or working on a craft or coloring, and you're doing something with them, you're building that relationship so that when things get out of hand, when somebody's angry, when two people are upset with each other, when there's quarantine and they can't leave their room, you've built that relationship so that they know you, they trust you, they know you as more than just an authority figure. This staff, because they don't interact, if there is ever a crisis, I feel bad for them, because they're going to not be in control of that situation in any way, shape, or form. And I know this because when I worked juvenile justice, my first year was a nightmare, because I came in wanting to be everybody's pal instead of being the one who's setting limits and boundaries. So whenever there was a crisis, they didn't look to me to help solve the crisis because I was their pal. So I guess that's kind of a freaking. But no, I'm actually rather calm. Things are going okay. The house is a mess, but I have this weekend off, so I'm just going to do that. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Did I mention I'm going to Hawaii?
Once or twice.
Okay. And what I was talking about earlier, there are 4 possible comic shops there. Last time I did a Google search. The first day we're getting there, because of the jet lag, we're not really planning anything, which would have been the Saturday there. Saturday, they've got the flea market that goes on around, I believe they call it, it's the stadium on Oahu. I don't know what it's called anymore. It could be something different. And last time I was there, that was where I ran into that booth that sells Pogs, because, they're making a comeback, So I'm really looking to go to that. I don't know if the
Alf.
Oh.
Are they going to have an Alf Pog of that cover with him violating the seal?
Well, they might have the Steve Allen Pog, the ultimate Pog. $500? I'll buy it.
I'd rather have the Alf Pog of the cover of him getting to know the seal biblically.
I would rather.
Know what I mean, and I would rather
just have a Mai Tai and call it even. But so I'm looking forward to that. That may be the day we're doing, because every other day we plan like one thing, and we just have fun, and including a day where we're just driving, because it's a beautiful area. When I was there before, we'd be in a rental car and we'd just drive. And, hey, that looks interesting. We drive over and we watch surfers all day long and walked on the sand beach. I mentioned before a black sand beach. I don't think there's any on Oahu, because the volcanoes there have been dead. But yeah, I'll have tons of stuff to talk about when I get back. I have been watching things. I've mentioned I'm on Discovery. I got to admit, that first season of Discovery was pretty sweet. Every time I ended at an episode, I was like, oh my God, great cliffhanger, move on to the next one. The second season isn't grabbing me as much. I'm still intrigued with it. I guess I really fell in love, and I can't remember the name of the captain, the one who's the Mirror Universe captain.
Yes.
I really, really liked him, even though he wasn't our captain. And the fact that the novel we talked about earlier deals with that captain is still alive makes me pray and hope they might rescue him and bring him back. I don't know anything about season 2, 3, or 4, so I don't want to know any answers yet. However,
the big mystery of season 2 did not grab me as much as the big mystery of season 1.
It's not grabbing me. I do want to know where they're going with it, and of course, you want to know why Spock is all messed up with it. But I'm enjoying it. I really enjoyed Picard season 2, episode 1. And I just absolutely loved it. And there's parts in it where I was like, Picard, you idiot. I mean, you want to reach through and give him the Homer Simpson. Even as we speak, episode 2 is waiting. And I don't know if I'll get a chance to watch it. I've only got a couple hours before. I mean, when we're done, I got some packing to do. I got some, final things. If I got time, I'll watch it, maybe unwind, but we're going to get up early because, and again, this ain't, I don't know, this might be too insider, but again, TSA is short people. We have trouble hiring things. Boy, I wonder where we heard that in the economy. So I want to get there a little earlier than the 2 hours in advance. I may be wrong. I may get through in 10 minutes like I have in the past, which is fine because I'm at Terminal 1 and there's plenty of places to go and eat. And I'll eat something. I've been trying to eat real light because the last thing I want is at 30,000 feet and 7 hours to go. I gotta really go. And you thought the dark side was bad in the Force. Woo! Anyways, so that's exciting. I did read some stuff though. First thing I want to say, I found this at Target. Really cool. You remember our good friend, the Japanese Spider-Man?
Yes.
He has the Spider Machine GP7 now released. Not as a special edition through San Diego Comic-Con, but as a regular edition hanging on the shelf. I found it along with the Deadpool scooter, and I really wanted to buy 2 of these, but I just bought the one. I may wish I did buy the other one because I really want to open one of these things. Reading-wise, I finished a book, Gene Wilder, Kiss Me Like a Stranger, My Search for Love and Art. Autobiography written about 10 years before he passed away of Alzheimer's, unfortunately. This is 2005. I believe he passed away 2018. The book title was given to him by Gilda Radner. This is a no-nonsense, no-punch autobiography by Gene, just the way I like him. He could have talked for hours about Young Frankenstein. He could talk for hours about working on Blazing Saddles and some of Silver Surfer, some of the other movies that he did. Some I wasn't even aware of. Some I remember, but I forgot, like the one he did with Gilda Radner. I believe it was called
Haunted Honeymoon.
And there was one, I think, was it Hanky Panky? Or was that? No, that was with Sidney Poitier. Anyways, yeah, and these are movies I remember, and I didn't realize he didn't really have a lot of time with Gilda Radner. And
No.
Realize how messed up Gilda Radner was when they got together.
Yes.
But
one other thing that I thought was really interesting, that when this book came out and he dedicated it to his current wife, there were people who were kind of upset, and I don't even remember who it was. It wasn't him, but it was somebody else that said he was only with Gilda for like 1 or 2 years. His current wife he's been with for over 30 years.
Yeah. And she was with him to the end.
We all love Gilda, but come on, man.
Well, and he was devastated when Gilda died. That's why I thought it's significant. The book title, she just said, use this for something. Kiss Me Like a Stranger. But yeah, if you love Gene Wilder, Gilda, the movies, this is one of those books. It's been out for a while. You can find it cheap. I love these books. I rave about them every time I get a chance to read them. So check it out. Because it ended in 2000, when did I say he wrote this? 2005, 8? I had to go to Wikipedia to get the rest of the story. Not happy, but, it's just one of those things. He obviously didn't write this on his deathbed. I did read Department of Truth #2. Wow, I am loving this series. This is just, again, the art's very stylish. Sometimes I got to stop and go back and like, oh, am I reading? But it's just, I'm getting the hang of it enough so I know where guys are. And it is just so crazy. I don't know if you could run this in a regular show because the art is so much part of it. So stylish, it just sets the mood and gets things going. And it's just one of those. No matter what you think you know the truth. The last time I was getting on his case because in Volume 1 it was like, dude, just get over it. This is what you got to deal with. Oh, I might have been wrong. He may be wrong. I gotta wait for Volume 3. A couple of comics I read. I picked up one from Keen Spot called Bunny Ear, the Aromatic. This is a lady who, number one problem, she has killer body odor. That's pretty much all. She never gets used to it. I know my body odor stinks, but I mean, bad enough to kill zombies. Yeah, it's funny. Bunch of different covers. Should be on the book stands now, newsstands now. I did pick up a variant cover of Strange #1 because I really wanted to read it. I mean, my regular cover is coming in box day. I'm really liking this. I mean, people don't realize, and in the first issue, you really wake up. Clea's not from our dimension. She does not have our morals. So for her, to kill the bad guy isn't that big a deal. And I accept that in the first issue. Obviously, it's going to be problems later on. Possibly, maybe not. I just hope they don't, every time she does, I am a veneer, I've worked in this, I did this, I did that. Yes, we understand you're not from our reality, but you are the Sorcerer Supreme. So, yeah, she's not a woman to mess with. I'm trying to be nice about it. And I did finally find a copy, thank you, Hot Comics, of Fantastic Four Reckoning War, because my copy was shorted because they ran out of the variant and I couldn't reorder it. And this is based on the story, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's. I don't know if this is going to be one of those, it's crossing over and everything, crossovers, but it's delving deep into the Watcher's history. There are ramifications for what's going on. I mean, it's not every day you start out the story by blowing up the moon. So this will be a fun crossover. And again, I buy Fantastic Four, and I don't know what else it goes into. Is it just Fantastic Four and then an Omega issue? We'll figure it out. So definitely pick those up. And in the mail today, and I don't think I'll bring it with it because it's autographed by Jerry Lawler and Michael Kingston. Headlock, Tales from the Road, Volume 2. Well, my copy's a little beat. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or report it to say, hey, my thing got folded in half. Yeah. So they're going to get, but still, it's signed by Jerry Lawler. Okay, that's good enough for me. So that's it for me for geeking. Cory, what you geeking on?
Last night on AEW Dynamite, we had a segment where, okay, Jeff Hardy's going to be coming in, so we need to do a segment where to debut him. And Matt Hardy has been big money Matt Hardy for a while, where he's kind of a slimy businessman, and he has changed his ways. He found out that whenever he puts on a suit, he's a jerk. So the group of heels he's with, he told them this, and that he's going to change, and he still wants this team to be together. And they, of course, no. And they start beating him down. So the music for Sting and Darby Allin plays, and Sting and Darby Allin come out. Now, they did one thing that I absolutely loved, which is usually, Joe, what happens when the bad guys are beating up a good guy and the other person's music plays?
Usually the bad guys stop and react, or the good guy or whoever's intervening runs to the ring for the save.
The bad guys did not stop beating down Matt Hardy. Point number one. Point number two, Sting and Darby Allin come out, and they pose on the stage, and then they slowly saunter to the ring, taking their time. They get up on the apron, and they watch, and the bad guys do not stop. It isn't a, hey, they're going to face off. No, the bad guys are ignoring them and just beating the shit out of Matt Hardy. So Sting and Darby Allin get in, and they get beaten up. And then Jeff Hardy's music plays, and Jeff Hardy comes out, and he does his dance that he does as part of his entrance before coming down to the ring. Meanwhile, the bad guys did not stop beating up the good guys. So it's almost like, hey, Matt, I know we're supposed to save you, but you're kind of a douche. So we're going to take our time. We'll let you get your lumps in. And I'm just watching it, laughing myself sick. But then when we do the audio for PW Insider, my co-host, Anthony Pyrus, is laughing so, when we talk about this section, he's laughing so hard he can't continue. we have to pause as he stops laughing and is able to get oxygen back in his lungs. And wrestling is fun on AEW. I can't watch WWE at all anymore. I know what's going to happen. The matches are boring. The stories are stupid. AEW every so often does stuff like this where they just kind of, okay, we're going to give you your goofy segment, which is the kind of stuff that, you've been in the car with Butch and I. We remember the goofy segments more than we do the great segments.
Yeah.
Comic-wise, I've really only read one comic, but it's a big one, and that is the Essential Hulk the Epic Collection Hulk Volume 1. Now, I have not read these stories in a while, but I do know that they started Hulk one way and it didn't sell, so they tried something else, and it didn't sell, so they tried something else. But I had not read it since the Essential came out back in the 90s. Those first 6 issues are utterly wackadoo, crazy. No one knows what the hell they're doing. The first issue is kind of a Frankenstein story. The second issue is the Hulk versus the Terrible Toad Men, which is, okay, well, the Fantastic Four has aliens show up. Let's do the same thing here. The way Bruce Banner becomes the Hulk changes every issue to whereby, I think it's the third issue, he actually creates a machine that shoots gamma rays at him so that when he wants to become the Hulk, he steps on a trigger and gets irradiated to become the Hulk. Then it's okay, we're going to have Hulk fight the kind of monsters that are in our monster books. Then Steve Ditko's issue. And that Steve Ditko issue is so insane. First off, the villain is the Metal Master who can use his telekinesis to change metal into anything. And I'm sorry, he does it to make, okay, I'm going to turn this spaceship into a cage, whatever. The Metal Master, if you think about his power, could be one of the most powerful aliens ever. But now he just kind of makes cages and dogs and whatever. But it also has this page that blows my mind where Bruce Banner needs to become the Hulk to fight him. But the gamma radiation hurts. So when it's firing at him, he puts his arms in front of his face. And after it's done, he has the body of the Hulk and the head of Bruce Banner. And it's one of the goofiest damn things you will ever see in your life. And as I'm reading, it's like, oh, that's why it was canceled. Okay. Then when he shows up in the Fantastic Four, like between issues, I think it was like between issues 3 and 4 or 5 and 6, he's just, I'm going to crush everything. Then he's in the Avengers, and the whole time he's in the Avengers is, fuck you guys, I hate you, I don't want to be here. Till finally the 4th issue, he teams up with the Submariner to beat the hell out of him. They really had no idea what to do with the Hulk for the first 2.5, 3 years that they were publishing it. And it wasn't until, okay, he's got his own series, Ditko's doing some stuff, all right, now we're going to, then you got the angry childlike Hulk, which lasted until Peter David. But I forgot just how batshit insane those stories are. And it's fun to read because it's really clear. They're like, okay, that issue didn't sell. Let's try something else. Did that work? No. All right, try something else. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for 2.5 hours. So that's, I would say, at least half of Joe's plane ride.
Yeah.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better the comic that you like the most. Joe?
I do got to say, I'm tired of people going, oh, where in Hawaii do you want to go? I just tell them, hey, can you be more Pacific?
Oh.
I'll see you back. I imagine one of my freakings will be I'm sunburnt. In the meantime, aloha. I hit you my music, Cory.